out sale prices. H&H Carpet across from Walmart on the Atlanta Highway.
Good travel weather across the southeast today and tomorrow, but we have a significant storm system for the holiday. Today, the clouds early clear out, then lots of sunshine later, high in the upper 60s, then mid-40s overnight tonight, dry. Wednesday's high 73 with the sun and cloud mix. Dries through the evening hours Wednesday, but showers and thunderstorms begin in the overnight hours, then wet and stormy at times on Thanksgiving. Some of the storms could be strong. High 71. Then it turns sharply colder, starting Black Friday and then through the Iron Bowl weekend, progressively colder. A little taste of the Arctic on the way. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
Exciting times at Capital Tractor, your hometown Kubota dealer. John Bobo here. Construction is almost complete on our new Montgomery location, but until then, our moving sale continues with great Kubota deals. Don't miss it. Capital Tractor, Montgomery and Brundage.
1819 News.
The minority leader for Democrats in the Alabama House, Anthony Daniels, has now pre-filed a bill for the upcoming 2025 legislative session that would make the state income tax exemption on overtime pay a permanent thing. The bill to exempt the taxation for overtime pay first passed in 2023. HB 217 eliminated the state income tax on any pay given to an hourly worker over the standard 40 hours a week. The law has a sunset date of June 30th, 2025. Daniel says he wants to push this law into becoming permanent and that employers and employees have been able to have additional money for themselves and their families as a result of this law. I'll be back with more Alabama stories after this.
I'm Amy Beth Schaefer with Alabama Unfiltered Radio, and when I need the news and I need it fast, I turn to Andrea Tice and the Daily Detail. On my way in, it is the most convenient, best way for me to digest what's going on so that I can use it for our show. She tells you what's going on in Alabama that day first and fast. So listen to the Daily Detail with Andrea Tice. Don't miss out.
The Daily Detail is available wherever podcasts are found.
A Theodore man was sentenced this week to 30 years in prison by a federal judge. 39-year-old Matthew McDaniel pleaded guilty to the sexual exploitation of minors. McDaniels admitted to secretly recording two girls in a bathroom. The girls were ages 12 and 16 at the time. The incident occurred at McDaniels' home. Country music performer Dwight Yoakam is coming to Alabama. The Cosmic Roundup and Rodeo Tour will be held in May of 2025 at the Wharf in Gulf Shores. The Mavericks and 49 Winchester will be the opening acts for Yoakam. Tickets already go on sale for the concert through Ticketmaster. I'm Andrea Tice.
For more news affecting Alabamians, go to 1819news.com. And while you're there, subscribe to the daily newsletter.
The views and opinions of the following program are solely those of the host and other contributors. These do not necessarily represent those of Liberty Acquisitions 825, Blue Water Broadcasting, its management, staff, or any advertisers. It's time for Montgomery's conversational radio show. It's news and views on News Talk 93.1 FM. To join the conversation, call 272-9228.
After damning politicians uphill and down dale for many years as rogues, vagabonds, frauds, and scoundrels, I sometimes suspected, like everyone else, I often expect too much of them.
It's all a Fugazi. You know what Fugazi is?
Fugazi, it's a fake.
Yeah, Fugazi, it's a wazi, it's a woozy, it's a fairy dust. It doesn't exist. It's never landed. It is no matter. It's not on the elemental chart. It's not real. Right?
Joey Clark.
Welcome into the program. Only a few days away from Thanksgiving, and it can't get here soon enough. Hopefully we won't be in the middle of, World War III on Thursday. And that's, I guess, a great introduction for our guest who's a tradition on Tuesdays. Love talking to this guy every week. We have the one, the only Judge Andrew Napolitano. Judge, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm fine until that introduction.
I'm thankful for relative peace at the moment.
Yes. So here's the judge. It's time for World War III.
Well, I've been watching your show.
We have been talking about World War III. It's spooky and terrifying. The Russians fired this missile that the West didn't even know about, which goes 7,500 miles an hour and which cannot be stopped and cannot be shut down. And everybody was startled. And then the U.S. and Ukraine went right ahead and fired missiles into Russia, as if this monstrosity, which can reach London in 6 minutes and Paris in 4 minutes, didn't exist. It's almost as if Joe Biden is trying to extend and exacerbate the war in Ukraine so it explodes on Donald Trump's watch, much as the ending of the U.S. catastrophe in Afghanistan, negotiated by the Trump administration, exploded and ended on Biden's watch.
Now, in this missile, I guess they're calling it Oreshnik.
Yes.
It has, like, it's conventional, but it has such rate of speed with the conventional warhead. Multiple, the videos that are out there are truly harrowing, but it has the destructive power of, like, a small, like, say, a tactical nuke, it sounds like, but with conventional means.
Yes, it does, but it does not render the venue of its destruction uninhabitable the way nukes do. So this thing was aimed at a large, well-functioning Ukrainian arms manufacturer. That plant is now dust. Now, the neighborhood around it was not destroyed and human beings weren't killed, but the plant is now dust. I mean, this is a fantastically lethal piece of ammunition, which would have been illegal under international law if Mike Pompeo and John Bolton had not talked Donald Trump into withdrawing from the INF treaty negotiated by Ronald Reagan, because this very piece of equipment was banned by that treaty, and now the equipment is here.
It's just crazy to see that development. But you got to wonder, is the West getting the message? When you look at what different members of NATO are continuing to say, if you look at how the United States, especially American press, continues to cover all this,
The West is not getting the message, Joey, and that's the danger. British Prime Minister Starmer and French President Macron leaked that they were talking about sending troops to Ukraine. Let them send them. The Russians will annihilate them. I mean, it would be insane. The British people and the French people will never stand for this. Why would they even leak something like that? A Dutch admiral who happens to be in charge of the NATO military committee says we're ready to go in. Ready to go in with what? An American admiral by the name of Buchanan says we're ready to fight a nuclear war with the Russians. Well, there's no such thing as fighting a nuclear war. That means nuclear annihilation.
Absolutely. And it is just a day or two before Thanksgiving watching them climb this escalation ladder.
Sebastian Gorka, whom I know from Fox, and who's Trump's number 2 national security advisor, went on Fox and said, if Putin doesn't negotiate, wait till he sees what we give Ukraine. It will look like peanuts by comparison. Where's he going to get the equipment from, and who's going to man it? Their need is human beings. They lost over 600,000 human beings thanks to this folly, which it sounds like Trump's number 2 in national security supports.
Well, and I was going to ask, as just a follow-up to this, is this gambit by the outgoing Biden administration going to work in your mind? Because I've seen Mike Waltz, and Sebastian Gorka is notorious and how he talks about these matters. But is this sort of Trump's, like, let me have my bulldog to bark and growl and bare its teeth while I try to be the reasonable one? I mean,
I'm hearing both stories. I'm hearing the one you articulated. I will look reasonable by comparison. I'm also hearing that Gorka's off the reservation and Trump is having second thoughts about him. Gorka also said that the Taliban is a danger to society, but the Taliban runs Afghanistan and hasn't indicated and hasn't shown any ability to do anything outside of the Middle East. The Taliban, that's what we created in order to resist the Russians, and then we fought against them, and then we locked them up, and then the Trump administration negotiated with them to release all their fighters from jail, and they were released on Biden's watch. Everybody knows this history. Both sides are to blame here.
Yeah, there's so much to this and a lot of breaking news. I guess with Trump's tariff threat, that's all over every front page from Wall Street Journal, New York Times, and international press. I view this as I was at a libertarian conference, Judge. I think it was a fee conference in 2018, and everybody's very worried about what Trump's going to do with tariffs. And there was a meeting of the G7 in Canada at the time. As I'm at the conference, we're all talking about Trump, and all of a sudden the headline comes out, what if we consider no tariffs and no barriers? And everybody's jaw hit the floor and is dumbfounded. So it almost seems like this guy is predictably unpredictable and is willing to use a crazy method, which is increase tariffs, to try to strong arm people towards his position.
I mean, tariffs are a species of central economic planning. And if anything doesn't work, it's central economic planning. Look at what it's led to here. Welfare payments, debt, the Federal Reserve, wage and price controls from time to time. Central planning doesn't work. I mean, I had a dinner table dispute with a dear friend of mine whom you know, who's a serious libertarian economist. Now, I'm not an economist. I'm on the philosophical and constitutional side. But I said, look, if I want to buy a cheap toaster from China or an expensive Mercedes from Germany, where does the government get the moral, constitutional, or legal authority to interfere with that? And suppose I want to buy a truckload of these toasters and sell them. I'm Walmart. Or a boatload of these boats and sell them. I'm a local Mercedes dealer. That doesn't harm anybody. And in fact, it increases economic activity. And who is the government to interfere with it? Oh, tariffs bring higher wages and higher prices. Right. And destroyed freedom and central planning by politicians. So that's what we're apparently about to confront. Unfortunately, it's the Supreme Court's fault. The Supreme Court ruled in 1936 that most of these tariffs can be imposed by the president alone. Doesn't even require an act of Congress because they are an instrument of foreign policy.
I can only imagine what somebody like an Alexander Hamilton would think of that authority. And it is interesting how this argument, this discussion around the tariff goes back to the beginning of this republic.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Even Jefferson, the sainted Thomas Jefferson, fell for tariffs. Well, it was the way the government funded itself. Right. Whether you want to call it a tariff or a tax at the port, goods arrived from Latin America or from Europe. They landed in Charleston or Philadelphia or New York or Boston. The feds were there. They imposed a tax on it. The tax went to the federal government. Who paid the tax? Not the guy shipping the stuff, but the people buying it.
Now, there's you mentioned the Supreme Court, and I'd imagine just real quick that Jack Smith dropping essentially the case, the federal charges he had against Trump or he was pursuing, that's gone, and that based on that Supreme Court immunity ruling?
No. It's based on a Justice Department policy that a sitting president can't be prosecuted. The trial judge actually did a very, very rare thing. She dismissed it without prejudice, meaning it's on a shelf somewhere and a future DOJ could bring it back. The case on Mar-a-Lago is not before the trial court anymore. It's before a panel of 3 judges in the United States Court of Appeals for the 11th Circuit. They have to decide what to do with it. It's inconceivable that this thing will survive Trump's second day in office, because if it's on a shelf somewhere, Trump's new attorney general, with whom I am very displeased, nevertheless, will send, not over this, will send prosecutors in to ask that it be dismissed with finality, and I wouldn't blame her.
Now, another thing the Supreme Court did recently was the overturning of the Chevron doctrine. The more I read what, say, in particular, Vivek Ramaswamy's putting out with him and Elon's Doge entity, it seems like they're going to try to rely on the fact that the court recently ruled on this to say, well, we don't need this, that, or the other regulation. And it could be a key part of, even they claim, mass layoffs. You don't need as many bureaucrats for fewer regulations. I mean, how much, because a lot of folks are writing about how successful or not successful Doge will be when we look at things like mandatory spending. But on the legal side of it, do you think there is some room to run given this recent overturning of Chevron?
No, I mean, Doge is not a department of the government, has no budget, no staff, and no legislative authority. They can recommend, and the House and the Senate can enact, and Trump can sign it into law. That's a different story. But they have no governmental authority whatsoever. The same with these czars. I know Tom Homan, and I like Tom Homan, but you can call him the immigration czar all you want. Ask him how big his staff is and his budget. It's an easy number. 0.
Right.
Only Congress writes the laws. Trump can appoint these tenacious people to enforce the laws, but only Congress can write them.
And I'm forgetting the guy's name, forgive me, who has been tapped to head up the Office of Management and Budget for Trump. Again, he was there at one point, and it sounds like he, in a Tucker Carlson interview I'm pulling this from, and it sounds like President Trump are really eager to test the whole Impoundment Act that was passed in the early to mid 70s.
The Supreme Court found it unconstitutional and ordered President Nixon to spend whatever Congress told him to spend. And they should know that. It's still good law today. Look, Trump wants to change these things. He's got to do it by legislation, and he should do it soon while he has and majorities in both houses, and B, an era of good feeling. Because soon he'll probably lose one of those majorities, and sooner he'll lose the era of good feeling when you can't buy avocados anymore because they cost $10 each.
On a closing note, happy Thanksgiving, and what are you most grateful for as you look back on this year and going forward?
I would be grateful for less government. That's my column this week. No surprise.
Likewise, you and I both. Well, I always appreciate the time, Judge, and truly happy Thanksgiving, sir.
Back at you, my man. See you next Tuesday.
Yes, sir. Again, folks, that's Judge Andrew Napolitano. Always appreciate his time. In the studio with me, Eddie Bader's already on his way to Jamaica, but Byron Sheehy is here. How you doing?
I was doing very well until you reminded me that Eddie's on his way to Jamaica.
You jealous?
I mean, I was just hungry, but now I'm hungry and jealous.
Hungry and jealous all at the same time.
Yeah, that's got to qualify as hangry.
So, same question to you. What are you grateful for in this world?
Top of the list, God's love and grace. Outside of that, friends and family who stick beside you and support you. I mean,
here.
If you got that,
the basics, man, the
what
fundamentals.
else do you need? That and good health, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I'm a simple man.
Yeah, I'm learning that too, that there is something about good friends, family, and good friends can be somebody you hadn't even talked to in a long time.
Often those, the old saying is your best friends you can miss for, seeing them for 3, 4, 10 years. And as soon as you see them, it's like picking up. Nothing's happened.
And in family, truly, I mean, they know you warts and all. So there's some downside to that for your, in the short term, but in the long term, it's worth it. I think every bit of it's worth it.
You can't pick your family, and fortunately, they can't get rid of you. So it's kind of a two-way street there.
Well, I'm looking forward to spending time with family and just taking it easy as we head into the weekend. I mean, what do you make of this? Because we're now, ever 2-3 weeks away from the election. What do you make of the mood right now? Because it does seem like there are a lot of forces at work. Just pour a bunch of cold water all over this. Well, you know what I mean.
I think reality is definitely starting to set in for some people. I wrote down predictably unpredictable. That's a nice way of saying, we're just going to test the waters and see what we're able to get away with. And whenever the judge said the president's not going to want to spend unnecessary capital, I agree with him 100%. But he's got a legislative agenda that he's going to try to push through, and he needs every vote that he can get behind it. Some of this stuff is not going to be popular.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and it's just the amount of, it's kind of, the debt's a problem, but there's really no way to really solve it. And like the amount of those articles and think pieces I'm seeing from like the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, from a lot of very smart conservatives, it's like, you weenies, you might even be technically right, but grow a pair, maybe go on an ayahuasca trip and gain some frickin' vision, because I'm so tired of these folks who are sitting pretty, who make good money, make a good living, living off this thing they'll admit is bad. And so they have no incentive to try to change this sinking ship.
They have all the incentive to do the opposite.
Yes.
They don't get reelected solving the problems, ironically. They get reelected claiming they need more time to solve the problems that the other side won't, help them solve.
Well, and it's an interesting thing in history. It's actually an old Ayn Rand quote. Let me see if I can find that. But I'm thinking of somebody like Elon Musk. But it's not just an Elon. Like anybody that like creates something that makes the community better off, and the community could be 100 people in your little tribal village, or it could be millions of human beings for decades, if not centuries to come. It's usually those folks who make people better off. They're not very popular at the end.
No, I mean, if you cut the government out of any of their perceived roles or functions, they don't like you.
Right.
I mean, going back to when Democrats ran Alabama, and I think there's still, some dinosaurs in certain key positions that kind of keep this mantra going. The magic words were stable tax base. Whatever we can do to provide a stable tax base to fund government.
Well,
that's what they want.
Well, wasn't it like famously, and also it's like the expectations people have, where they think the New York Times did an op-ed saying it'll take 100 years for man to fly. And the next day, I think the Wright brothers did it.
I did not know.
There's something like that, and it's like when railroads first come on the scene, they're dangerous. The sparks can create fires, and there's always downside. And everybody just wants to point at the person trying to innovate and going, "You're a bad man. You're going to make things dangerous. You're not benefiting anybody."
You mean the big horse and buggy industry was against the railroad? Yeah.
Right. Well, and it's just, I think people at bottom. So Elon saves free speech with X. He really does. But folks are like, yeah, but F that guy. He solves paralysis. These first few Neuralink patients, it's amazing. It is amazing. These guys who are paraplegics, who cannot move at all, are now able to do a lot of functions, especially directly interfacing with the computer. Pretty remarkable. But, solve paralysis, but yeah, F that guy.
Yeah, I don't like who he donated his political money.
Elon solves reusable rockets, but, the course, F that guy. He solves global connectivity with Starlink. The Pentagon's very thankful for it, but, F that guy. Disrupts the entire automotive industry. Like, you can't go on the streets of Montgomery without seeing, like, Hyundai or Toyota or BMW have all created these electric vehicles now.
Don't forget AAA for NASA. I mean, NASA breaks down, Elon can show up and, solve that problem.
Brings manufacturing to the U.S., brings it back with these gigafactories, but, F that guy. He redefined space cargo with Starship, but, you know the words. Elon put the first car in space. Okay, that one's just funny. Like, he sent one of those convertibles out there, and it says, "Don't panic" on the dashboard from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. That's pretty great. Elon advocates for population growth to avoid demographic collapse. But, F that guy.
You know what I like?
It's crazy.
You know what I like about Elon, now that you point all that out? I like the fact that he kind of personifies that thought of, if I won Powerball, what I would do with my money.
Yeah.
Just all the stupid stuff, like just to turn the world.
I'd put it all in Bitcoin.
Well, I'm sure you would, to drive the market shifter. But just to be able to be a disruptor, that's kind of been the mood, or what I've taken away from the past election cycle or so. The lack of confidence in institutions, people really kind of branching out on their own. Like, it is you said it 2 or 3 weeks ago, it's a revolution. I mean, it may not be one that we identify with that term, but that is indeed what's happening.
Man, it is. But this is the Ayn Rand quote. It's from the Fountainhead. Quote, "Thousands of years ago, the first man discovered how to make fire. He was probably burnt at the stake he'd taught his brothers to light, but he left them a gift they had not conceived, and he lifted darkness from the face of the earth." And I just have a feeling, whether it's Trump or Elon or anybody, it doesn't have to be these, world famous people. It could be somebody in the local community who sticks their head out on a particular issue in order to move the ball forward. Most likely, people will probably try to burn you at the stake for upsetting the status quo, even if the people benefiting from the status quo are like, yeah, the status quo sucks, but it don't slay my sacred cow.
Man,
it's crazy.
The general public does not throw ticker tape parades when they are necessary.
Think we got a lot of crabs in the bucket here in Alabama?
Man, I think we're on a crab boat. What do you mean crabs in the bucket? You know, there's to your point, that one of my favorite movies is Moneyball.
Great movie,
love analytics, that sort of thing. And there's a line in there where he makes a comment. The first guy through the wall, or actually it's the owner of the Red Sox at the end. He says, the first guy through the wall always gets the bloodiest. It doesn't matter what arena you're in. If you're a trailblazer, you are going to catch slings, arrows, rocks, stones, hateful words,
all that stuff.
Politicians in your way. They're going to put barriers up. Man, there's a reason that a lot of these cats have that rebellion, just that gene, that contrarian. They're not going to march to your beat.
Right.
No matter what you do.
No, and there's something Elon said last year. Remember when he told Bob Iger and all these advertisers that were boycotting, like it was a cartel kind of joining together to boycott advertising on X. And he said, you're going to try to blackmail with money? Go F yourself. And people are like, oh. And he says it slowly, go. And like, hi, Bob, how you doing? And so it's that, but it was that same interview. And somebody was sharing it today on the X, that it's a beautiful statement. This is Elon Musk. He says, quote, what I care about is the reality of goodness, not the perception of it. And what I see all over the place is people who care about looking good while doing evil. Amen.
Those are often the people who do the most evil, heinous acts, are the ones who perpetrate good.
Oh, yeah. Well,
we got a whole Capitol full of them.
Set the table here. But I really do. I don't. You think Alabama's going to take me up on it's out at 1819news.com now, my latest op-ed.
I saw it. I have not got a chance to read it.
My point is, it's not too late for Alabama to buy Bitcoin. I don't mean like Alabamians. You should already be doing it if you got extra money or if you're willing to take your own risks. But what's happened is this price run-up since the election is based on a lot of Trump's promises. In particular, the regulatory environment will be set by people actually friendly to the industry, everybody being tapped on this crypto council he's putting together. And the Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, however you call him, his name, he seems friendly. So it seems the regulatory environment will just be much clearer. These big businesses in the crypto space will be allowed to plan 5-10 years into the future a little bit with some regulatory clarity. But the bigger thing is this idea of a national strategic stockpile of Bitcoin, that the United States will not only not sell any of the current Bitcoin it holds, which is about 1% of the total Bitcoin supply that will ever exist, but the United States will engage in buying more. On the heels of that, you had Pennsylvania. Somebody in the Pennsylvania House of Representatives filed a bill to allow the Treasury in Pennsylvania to invest up to, at their discretion, up to 10% of the state's funds into Bitcoin to fight inflation and diversify the state's portfolio. In fact, I think it was Andrew Sorrell, who guest host on the show the other day, who said he wouldn't want the legislature to tell Alabama legislature, say, here, buy this exact amount of Bitcoin. Leave it to the discretion of a financial professional, in particular the Treasury, to essentially create a stockpile reserve that's meant to be a long-term store of value. And my point is, I think this is a good idea. I don't think you have to do it like today, but as you're heading into the legislative session, maybe while you're considering gambling and all sorts of other things, that you might look into this. Just look into it. I know we got some good folks in the House and the Senate who are friendly to crypto, friendly to Bitcoin. Look into it. Present it to people. Heck, call Michael Saylor down to meet with you, bubbas, and have a private meeting so all your questions can be answered. You can agree with them, disagree with them. I just think it's the right play, the long-term prosperity of the state.
They can't control Bitcoin. That's why there's no appetite for it. I mean, it's kind of, this is probably gross, the analogy, but going back to the whole marijuana thing. All right, so it's legalized but not decriminalized, right?
Right.
So why is it not decriminalized?
Because they can't control it.
Ding.
Like,
All right.
wait, you can grow it in your backyard? And,
Wait, you mean I can't pick the winners and losers and have these people funny contributions back to my victory fund?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I do think on Bitcoin, if the state were to invest, I do think that there should be some cap, at least.
Oh, sure.
On,
no, like, let's just copy Pennsylvania. Up to 10%.
Over a given amount of time. I'm not saying that it can't exceed 10%. I'm just saying
Right. You can come up with all sorts of good rules that I'm not going to pretend I'm a professional on or an expert on. I just think in general, I am bought in, not that literally, somewhat, I have some, but like I am bought in the sense that I think the underlying technology not only works, I think it is revolutionary on a world historic scale, what this is going to do. And it would be nice. We don't have to go it alone. We could all hold hands. Maybe you get a few other states to jump in with you at the same time. But, like, come on, let's get ahead of the curve a little bit.
How long do you think it'll be before people actually connect the dots? Like, oh, you mean you can track this electronically, that this ledger, occurs and it can't be altered?
Right.
You can't.
A global, universal ledger that is incorruptible.
Could that be
with a limited supply of tokens?
Could that same technology be applied to other sectors?
Oh yeah, there's a lot of different things and that's part of. I already know there's some friendly stuff coming crypto's way here in Alabama. Mike Shaw, Philip Insler are both kind of on a bipartisan front trying to figure things out. So there are other applications for blockchain technology.
I'm getting
and it's not all the same way that Bitcoin works. It's more proof of work, which is why you have all the power usage and the mining and whatnot. It's like essentially solving a very complicated algorithmic math problem. There's other things called proof of stake, where you have stakeholders that own a certain amount, so they're vested in it, and they have to approve the legitimacy of the ledger. But it could change things like notaries and how you register, how you even sign documents and make deals, how you vote even down the road. Yeah, I think it is revolutionary, but I think it's more than just the blockchain and all its different applications. I think Bitcoin in particular is doing to money what the internet did to everything else in the information world. Was that revolutionary or not? Because even in the mid-2000s had people like Paul Krugman saying the internet will have as much impact as a fax machine. And you were wrong. It's fundamentally changed our societies. It's been the only way you could gain wealth in the stock market is really jumping into that sector. And I mean gaining a lot of wealth, not just buying the S&P. So I think Bitcoin is going to do to money what that technology, internet technology, did to all the other information economy. It's the digital transformation of capital. You could actually hold something, yes, for long periods of time that's incorruptible, that governments, that institutions, private actors, and individuals will probably want to be looking into. So we'll see.
Quick question for you. Do you know, and this is truly me being dumb on the issue, if there were a dirty bomb, electromagnetic pulse type scenario, what's the worst case scenario as far as being able to access your Bitcoin stash?
I mean, if it's a big EMP and it takes out everything, I mean, it would take a while. But the beauty of it is the ledger's not destroyed.
That was essentially my question. I didn't know if that would wipe.
Right. Okay. No, I had like a mini example. Power went out the house, and we were in the middle of like messing with transactions. I'm like, damn. But then when you just fire back up, you're like, that's the brilliance of it. It's distributed. It's not at a central clearinghouse that could be corrupted.
Okay.
Because the ledger is held on all sorts of computers all over the world. You just need one or two computers to boot back up and be like, okay, we got it.
So in theory, the entire U.S. could be hit with an attack since that ledger shared with Singapore.
And I think the Bitcoin ledger would be the least of our problems.
No. Granted.
And then people bring up things like quantum computing could break. I think the encryption, SHA-256 is what comes to mind. Is how Bitcoin's encrypted. It's the same standard of encryption your biggest banks are using to encrypt their information. If quantum could theoretically hack that. So again, if somebody comes up with efficient quantum computing, which they haven't, but if they, or at least we don't know about it. The point is, if somebody comes up with that, again, it's not just Bitcoin encryption, it's all encryption.
Right.
So, I mean, you're talking about game changers that affect Bitcoin, of course, but they affect everything at the same way.
That would be the tip of the iceberg. Follow-up question. What's the ratio of privately held Bitcoin capital versus institutional control? Whether it be an ETF?
I don't know off the top of my head. It's mostly private people. Some of the biggest players now, the Fidelity, BlackRock, all these ETFs, they started up at the beginning of last year because a judge forced the SEC to allow them to do it. These spot Bitcoin ETFs, they're the most successful ETFs in like the last decade, I think. Something to that effect. I think most 9 out of 10 months they had inflows of billions of dollars. So it shows a lot of institutional players that want some exposure to that. There are other folks that are going with this Michael Saylor's company, MicroStrategy, which has almost essentially become this Bitcoin bank, where if people who charters don't allow them to buy Bitcoin direct want to get exposure to Bitcoin, and in fact, use leverage to make even bigger gains than the actual underlying Bitcoin, use the volatility to their advantage. That's going on. And you're talking about, I can't remember the number off the top of my head, MicroStrategy's bought billions and billions and billions, something like $30 billion worth of Bitcoin. It's ridiculous.
I mean, this is weird for me because I come from a school of thought, if you can't drop it on the ground and it go clank,
oh, sure.
I typically don't like investing in it.
See, but they can steal your gold pretty easy, and it's tough to move your gold into an airport and onto a plane.
They can't steal my gold pretty easily. And most people who hoard gold, they can't steal their gold pretty easily. Can't be. I'm not saying it can't be done. It's just going to take bloodshed to do it.
Yeah, but again, like if you want to, I don't know. I got to hit a break here because there's so many more things we could discuss on all these parameters. I just think that it is. I'm personally convinced. I'm not saying everybody else is convinced. Certainly not the Alabama legislature or the top finance eagles here in the state. I'm saying I'm personally convinced that this is the future. My biggest worry for about a year or two was what would the government do? Right. When I wrote a piece in February of 2024 saying Alabama should buy into Bitcoin. I did that because of that approval of those ETFs. Yeah. I'm like, let's start getting into this. Let's actually adopt this. I'm just reiterating the point because when you see the Trump administration's bringing in, you see Pennsylvania, one of the states, it won't be the only one, already jumping in to create things like Bitcoin reserves. Let's get on it, Alabama. We got a lot of brilliant people in finance in this state. There's no doubt about it. And I think for the longest time, they've seen this stuff as like, what's this newfangled threat? And to your point, Ken, how can we control it? What threat is it to the status quo? It's more, let's get our arms wrapped around this thing and use it to the benefit of this state and its people.
Man,
let's freaking do it.
Getting the guys and ladies down in the Capitol to understand and address certain issues is a tall task in and of itself. Most of the time, they have to hire lobbyists or rely on lobbyists for that. So, Joe, you may have to take up your civilian duty and go down there and start lobbying on behalf of crypto, man.
I know where to find me, and I don't want to be part of their club.
Well, good, because you ain't invited.
Yeah, I don't want the invitation. I really don't. A few times I go down there, I'm like, man, I feel like I don't feel comfortable in my own skin around these people. I'm not saying they're bad. It's just, again, me. I just don't feel comfortable. Like, and there's a smell of sulfur in the air every time I'm over there. Maybe that's the mold. I don't know. I know they're getting a new building. It's a whole thing. And the future's fine, Alabama. You don't need to be ahead of anything or watching what the latest innovations are. We'll be good just doing what we've been doing, especially if we can get gambling. Goodness gracious. Hey, this part of the program brought to you by Montgomery Men's Health. And there at Montgomery Men's Health, they're ready to help you fellas out if you're feeling just down and out. Like you're haunted by past memories of yourself. Like lack of motivation, lack of energy, lack of drive, including a decrease in your sex drive. You're always tired, physically and mentally. Seeing unwanted weight gain, loss of muscle mass. Knowing whether or not you have low testosterone is huge in combating some of these issues. Now, if you're a guy in your 40s, 50s, 60s, that naturally happens. You lose testosterone production, naturally speaking, as you get older. But if you're a guy in your 20s, you're like, it can't be low T. Yeah, it can. A lot of guys in their 20s and 30s are experiencing these symptoms. So get by Montgomery Men's Health, and they'll conduct a testosterone-focused lab workup plus a consultation for only $99. And they have low T treatments there, if that is indeed your problem, that can truly change lives. Men can experience higher energy, better gains in the gym.
Oh, brother.
That's right, brother. Better mental clarity, improved sleep patterns, a faster metabolism, you usually even notice an increased libido. And you can actually book the same day that you call that number, 440-3663. That's 440-3663. Or go to MontgomeryMen'sHealth.com to book your appointment today.
Want to carry News Talk in your pocket? Download the News Talk 93.1 app from the App Store. Available on iPhone and Android. Never miss a moment. Download now.
Hi there, I'm Madeline Cannon with Alabama Home Mortgage. Getting pre-approved is the first step towards home ownership. People are often scared or nervous about taking that first step, but I'll tell you, it's nothing to be scared of. At Alabama Home Mortgage, we will take the first step and every step along the way with you. Call us at 567-4223. We will gather the information needed to tell you exactly what you qualify for. After a call to Alabama Home Mortgage, you will know what price point to shop for, what down payment is required, if any, and what your monthly mortgage payment will look like. We take all the guessing out of it. Then, when you find the house you want to make your home, you are ready to make an offer. Along with your offer, you will submit your Alabama Home Mortgage pre-approval letter. This shows sellers that you've already taken the steps necessary to ensure that you qualify to purchase their home. Wait no longer. It's time to take that first step together. Call me at 567-4223 or start the process online at myalabamahomemortgage.com.
That's Alabama Home Mortgage because, folks, there is a difference in mortgage companies. NMLS 1586-36-8, Equal Housing Lender.
Hi, this is Bo Goodson from the Goodson Group with your updated market report. So far this year through MLS, there have been over 4,000 closings in the river region. Sellers have been getting on the average of over 97% of the listed price. In this ever-changing real estate market, I've seen more price reductions on listings over the last 3 months than I've seen in years. It's time to act for a buyer. So we have a greater supply of homes for people to see before they buy. We have an average price of $261,000 in our area. Local mortgage companies have come up with really attractive plans for first-home homebuyers, such as down payment assistance, lender credits to help on the closing costs, and buy-down plans to buy down the starting rate for borrowers. Investing in yourself and your community is life-changing for first-home homebuyers. You need a buyer agent to represent your interest and give you great advice. For all this information, call Bo Goodson at the Goodson Group at 221-2883 or 551-0225.
This is your roving reporter, and today I am talking with an elk. Hey man, Mr. Elk, I was just wondering, what do elk do to take care of their money? Well, like most smart folks, we call David Ernest. You mean Alabama's most favorite asset preservationist? That's him, man. We call him up at 334-279-7431 or 205-479-0839. I see. Yes, he is our preferred money man. The money man with the money plan. You've been paying attention. Well, could you give us those numbers one more time? 334-279-7431 or 205-479-0839. And I just want to try to give you a heads up, man. Oh, what's that? I'm not an elk. Not an elk, huh? Well, then, pray tell, what are you? Knights of Columbus. I am not even going to make a comment. Well, the baby liked it.
Did you know you can get your prescriptions for less at your local pharmacy? You can with GoodRx. It's the free app that can save you money on your medications. Just search for your prescription, choose the pharmacy and the price that works best for you, and then show your GoodRx coupon to your pharmacist at the drop-off counter. GoodRx works at over 70,000 pharmacies, including Walmart, Rite Aid, and Walgreens, and it works whether you have insurance or not. It's easy to save. Next time you drop off your prescription, check GoodRx. To start saving today, go to GoodRx.com. GoodRx is not insurance.
Life insurance. Why are you putting it off? Can't afford it? Too much hassle? Think you don't need it? There's lots of excuses for putting off life insurance. But if you weren't there, who would pay the mortgage and other bills? With Ethos, you could be covered in 10 minutes and boom, family protected. Ethos, fast and easy online term life insurance. Up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam. Some policies as low as $1 a day. Answer a few health questions and get your free quote at checkethos.com. That's checkethos.com.
For too long, Alabama's statewide news companies have shamed us for our conservative Christian values. Alabama deserves a news company that cherishes our culture, a company that isn't bought and paid for by the powers that be.
1819 News is that company. Run by Alabamians for Alabamians, 1819 News celebrates what is good and beautiful about our state while exposing those who work against our values in secret. Just go to 1819news.com to learn more. Subscribe to our newsletter. That's 1819news.com.
The Rich Thomas Weather Network, brought to you by Montgomery Paint and Body. From little fender benders to total body repair, MPB will fix it good as new, maybe better. For 4 decades, the Turner family has been getting you back on the road. Call 279-7325.
Good travel weather across the southeast today and tomorrow, but we have a significant storm system for the holiday. Today, the clouds early clear out, then lots of sunshine later, high in the upper 60s, then mid-40s overnight tonight, dry. Wednesday's high 73 with the sun and cloud mix. Dry through the evening hours Wednesday, but showers and thunderstorms begin in the overnight hours, then wet and stormy at times on Thanksgiving. Some of the storms could be strong, high 71. Then it turns sharply colder, starting Black Friday and then through the Iron Bowl weekend, progressively colder. A little taste of the Arctic on the way. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
Whether you're buying a home or auto or consolidating debt, CB&S Bank's personal loans get you where you need to go. Go to cbsbank.com to find a location near you or apply online today. All loans subject to credit approval, member FDIC, and equal housing lender.
Trustworthy, accurate, immediate. Carrying your voice across the river region. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back. News and views in the afternoon. 272-9228 if you want to get in on the conversation. That's 334-272-9228. I have a feeling, though, like, you know, if I had to give a speech to the Alabama legislature about how they should adopt Bitcoin and do it like, you know, be an early mover at the state level, I would get this sort of response. This is, a few years back. Let's listen in. This was a commencement speech.
Great investors are open-minded and understand things before other people. So I know this might feel polarizing, but I encourage you to keep an open mind right now. I see Bitcoin as a very misunderstood asset class.
Getting booed out the building.
It's decentralized and finite, which means no government can print more at will. In the early days, the exchanges for Bitcoin were prone to hacks and fraud, but the issue has been resolved with the recent launch of the Bitcoin ETFs backed by 2 of the world's largest asset managers, BlackRock and Fidelity. So anyone could hold these ETFs in your retirement account.
People are.
See, doesn't that kind of go against the spirit of Bitcoin?
That was at Ohio State University, by the way.
I'll give them a pass on that.
It's up essentially. It was about the same time I wrote my op-ed. It's up about 50% since then. But that's not what's important. It's more like think of the 5-10 year window ahead.
No, I mean, I'm still trying to come to terms with all that it represents. And like you were saying, I mean, the applications in the future are going to be far-reaching. It's probably not going to be just this.
Well, and I think, like gold, governments are going to be big players in this. Especially the U.S. government, is being the world's reserve currency, is in a unique position where they can just print money and go buy. Where other nations can go buy, but they don't have the same power as the U.S. government to kind of just create.
You mean they don't have their own make-believe monetary systems controlled by the Fed?
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. And then, I mentioned Ayn Rand earlier, shared a quote there from the Fountainhead. And, have you seen many clips of Ayn Rand herself?
I've seen photos. I don't think I've ever seen video.
Okay, there is an amazing interview done by Phil Donahue.
Really?
Of Ayn Rand. Now, this isn't the clip I'm about to mention. I'll play this clip I got pulled up in a second. There's at one point, because Rand is, whatever you think of her, brilliant mind, and kind of suffered no fools. One point, this woman gets up in the Donahue crowd and starts asking about the Trilateral Commission and the Illuminati. And Ayn Rand's she looked like she wanted to jump off the stage and strangle the woman. Like, who is this ignorant beast before me? And it's the same interview where she's just feisty with the crowd. She's going back and forth. And they asked Ayn Rand, who is like one of the, love her or hate her, one of the most well-known female novelists in the English language. She was asked, well, would you support a woman for president?
Do you believe that there is going to be a day where there's going to be a female in the White House as president? And how do you feel about that?
I wouldn't vote for her.
You would or wouldn't?
Would not.
You would not?
No.
Why not?
For many reasons. I've written an article about that in my former magazine. You'll have to find out my reasons there.
Yeah.
The magazine is The Objective.
Would you not vote for her because she was a woman, even if she were better qualified than any man?
If we had followed that law, I might.
I mean, until I see someone taken seriously on the international stage by certain cultures that we know to value women less, I think we would be sort of cutting off our nose in spite of our face, electing a woman and putting them on an international stage.
I just love that follow-up answer.
Yeah.
Well, if we'd fallen that low, I'd consider it.
I mean, she's honest.
You, ladies, you're 0-2 against Donnie from Queens. 0-2.
Who was it that said his Secret Service name should be Glass Ceiling?
I don't know, but that's pretty good.
I could have sworn it was in here.
This part of the program brought to you by Josh and Leslie Ryder there at Dillon Rings, and they're ready to help you out there at Dillon Rings with any and all of your jewelry needs. They're a full-service jewelry shop, so things like appraisals. Say you got a bunch of old jewelry, that gold and silver and whatnot, that you never wear, you want to get rid of, they might be able to buy that off you if it's the right deal. And, of course, with Christmas right around the corner, less than 1 month away, there are, well, as they're saying on their Facebook page today, 12 ways to make your or someone else's special ears bling. They have a great selection on earrings there at Dillon Rings leading into the Christmas holidays from 30 to 60% off. You can't go wrong with diamonds. These are truly remarkable diamond earrings. Of course, you can get a glimpse of them on Facebook. I'm looking at them now. Absolutely beautiful, but there's nothing like actually stopping by 119 Brown Springs Road. See if it's the right deal for you, especially you gentlemen that have been, waiting. Oh, I'll do my Christmas shopping later. And, me and the wife at this point, we don't really give each other gifts. It's like, it's all surprise her, you dope. Surprise her. Get by 119 Brown Springs Road. See these amazing deals they have there at Dillon Rings. And be sure to tell them, we'll tell you more about them later. Be sure to tell them that Byron and Joey, those fellas on the radio, sent you.
He may not know whether he's coming or going, but whether you're going to work or coming home, Greg Budell is there. Mornings, 6 till 9, and afternoons, 3 till 6. Only on News Talk 93.1 FM, WACV.
What would you do if your favorite local independent pharmacy had to close? This is not a question we can afford to ignore. And at Adams Drugs, we are fighting alongside other independent pharmacies to keep our doors open. We need your help now. Contact your local and state representatives and demand they support our fight to stay open. You can find their contact information on our website, adamsdrugs.net. Thank you for your support. We look forward to serving you and your family for many years to come.
What'll it be, Joe?
Coffee and apple pie. Whoa, Madge, what was that?
The lights? Oh, they always dim when the dishwasher turns on.
You should call Crosby Electric.
You think?
Overloaded circuits at your business can be dangerous. The experts at Crosby Electric can upgrade your electrical service to safely handle the load. And they can add receptacles where needed to eliminate overuse of extension cords.
Madge, I'd like to pay you. The problem is it's so dark in here I can't read my bill.
No, the problem is you're cheap.
Well, that's a problem too.
Effective, attractive lighting is essential for any business. Crosby Electric can help with a new lighting scheme that will give your business a fresh, exciting look. And they can recommend outdoor lighting for greater safety and security.
That'll be $4.50 for the coffee and pie, Joe.
Well, don't I get anything for recommending Crosby Electric?
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Joe.
You're welcome.
Don't put off essential electrical upgrades for your business. Call 272-2085 or visit crosbyelectric.com.
Are you happy with your IT support company? Do they resolve your company's computer issues quickly, or do they leave you down and frustrated? You need your computers working and problems resolved quickly and permanently. GTI is different. GTI has a high standard of affordably supporting and protecting businesses like yours since 1999. Call them now at 819-4650, 819-4650, or visit gtinow.com.
All the headlines the mainstream media won't touch. Your News Talk station. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back to News and Views in the afternoon. Just a few minutes left here in this hour. And, well, I can't wait for Thanksgiving Day.
What's your go-to?
My go-to?
Yeah.
Like the food?
Yeah. Like grandma has to make too. Or
I'm not a turkey guy.
Okay.
I'd rather have like some ham. I wish they would just do a freaking rib roast for Thanksgiving, but I know that's more a Christmas thing. So I usually go with the ham for meat. My Aunt Kim makes this potato casserole that's just freaking awesome. So I double up on that. The dessert spread is always pretty good too, with all sorts of different candies and pies, and cookies and brownies. And
I'll forgo a lot of the other stuff and go straight to the dessert.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of the traditional Thanksgiving.
Well, I think I told you, like, my thing, or our family's holiday get-together, there's always a lot of booze. We got Bloody Mary bar, make mimosas, few different choice bourbons.
Yeah, and then the family, Wednesday night's doing a Friendsgiving, so they're inviting the neighborhood over and all this stuff, and we're invited too. We'll be back there the next day. But I don't know how the Friendsgiving thing is going.
Don't drink the eggnog.
Don't drink the eggnog?
Oh, there's going to be something in it.
Yeah.
Might be some colored loofahs and upside-down pineapples before it's all said and done. Don't know how friendly that Thanksgiving is going to get.
Yeah, but I have the sort of days off, just relax. This happens to be every major holiday. I start to just relax into it. And then the news does slow down. Isn't it interesting how, like, the news all of a sudden slows down when everybody takes a day off? It's almost like it's, like, contrived.
Man, working around the state, one of the most interesting spots is Mobile. And going from Thanksgiving to Christmas straight into Mardi Gras, like if you're doing a race down there, you don't start your timeline really until after Mardi Gras.
Right.
Because you ain't getting anything accomplished
Good luck.
that doesn't involve drinking or networking. If that's your idea of campaigning, that's your season.
God bless America. We'll be right back, folks. More news and views in the afternoon after this.
Broadcasting from the Riverside Chevrolet Master Control Center, this is WACV Cusada, News Talk 93.1 FM. When it's Chevy, it's Riverside.
With SRN News, I'm John Scott. Americans' outlook on the economy improved modestly in November, lifted by expectations for lower inflation and more hiring. The Conference Board, a business research group, says that its Consumer Confidence Index ticked up to 111.7 from 109.6 in October. The small uptick followed a large gain in October. In New York, Daniel Penny has chosen not to testify at his trial in the death of an agitated man that he choked on a subway train. Defense lawyers have rested their case in a closely watched manslaughter case concerning the death of Jordan Neely. Closing arguments in the case expected after Thanksgiving. Penny has pleaded not guilty. On Wall Street, the Dow dropping 45 points. The NASDAQ Composite ahead 118. This is SRN News.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm. If you own a timeshare, don't miss this public service announcement from Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group.
If you receive an unsolicited phone call or mail piece to discuss selling, renting, or especially canceling your timeshare, don't fall for it. If you really want out of your timeshare, hang the phone up immediately or throw that mail piece in the trash and contact your timeshare resort or Wesley Financial Group for assistance with your timeshare. As the only Inc. 500 timeshare cancellation company, our knowledge, experience, and results has made Wesley a trusted resource for over 40,000 families we've helped get out of their timeshare. Give us a call and I'll send you our timeshare exit information kit free with the straight facts about your timeshare and all of your options for cancellation.
Call for your free info kit. 800-885-3333. That's 800-885-3333. 800-885-3333.
Rich Thomas Weather, a service of Riverside Chevrolet Wetumpka. If it's Chevy, it's Riverside. Best price, best selection. Check them out on the web at riversideusa.net.
Good travel weather across the southeast today and tomorrow, but we have a significant storm system for the holiday. Today, the clouds early clear out, then lots of sunshine later, high in the upper 60s, then mid-40s overnight tonight, dry. Wednesday's high 73 with the sun and cloud mix. Dry through the evening hours Wednesday, but showers and thunderstorms begin in the overnight hours, then wet and stormy at times on Thanksgiving. Some of the storms could be strong. High 71. Then it turns sharply colder, starting Black Friday and then through the Iron Bowl weekend, progressively colder. A little taste of the Arctic on the way. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
Web Bobo with Capital Tractor. Get 0% financing up to 48 months with approved credit. Now on select Kubota track loaders and excavators. Get a Kubota. Now through December 31st, 2024. See Capital Tractor Montgomery and Brundage or KubotaUSA.com for details.
From the Blue Water Broadcasting News Center, here's today's top stories. Governor Kay Ivey has declared November 27th as Operation Iron Ruck Day in honor of an annual movement to raise awareness and prevent veteran suicide. Operation Iron Ruck is a military training exercise that involves carrying a backpack over a long distance. On Iron Bowl weekend, Alabama and Auburn students host their own 151-mile ruck to benefit veterans. 15 men were arrested in Autauga County over the weekend for human trafficking and other charges. The sting operation involved the Autauga County Sheriff's Office and Prattville Police Department. The men were each charged with at least one count of traveling to meet a child for an unlawful sex act, in addition to first-degree human trafficking. 3 men were shot in the same Montgomery block on Monday night. Police were called to the 4100 block of Bronner Road at about 6:30, where a man was found suffering from a gunshot wound. Police were also called to a local hospital where 2 other victims of gunfire on Bronner Road had arrived. No further information has been released per the ongoing investigation. From the Blue Water Broadcasting News Center, I'm Sky Mosley.
This hour of news and views is brought to you by our good friends at Alabama Home Mortgage. Alabama Home Mortgage, 567-4223. Visit them on the web at myalabamahomemortgage.com. NMLS number 1586368. An equal housing lender.
Hello, I'm Mr. Ben. If your vehicle has seen better days, fear not. Help is on the way. Mr. Ben's Auto Spa Express has added a professional detail shop. Specialized techniques and products are used to get your vehicle back to showroom shape. Hand washing, waxing, stain removal, odor removal, shampooing, minor scratch removal, and more. Mr. Ben's Auto Spa Express, next to Fraser Church on the Atlanta Highway. Come by for a free estimate. Look like you've been to Mr. Ben.
Hello, this is Yasmin Hostin with Beauty and Beyond. We've been advertising with Blue Water Broadcasting for 10 years plus. If you would like to increase your business, use Blue Water Broadcasting radio stations. They get results.
Blue Water Broadcasting is the #1 most listened to radio group in the River region. Find out how to put this reach to work for your business. Call us to find out how we can help. Blue Water Broadcasting. Local folks helping local business.
Our daughter Jessie loves playing detective. A clue.
But since we discovered she has sensitive skin, we've been playing detective too.
We thought the problem was our puppy.
But it was actually our old detergent.
Aha!
So we switched to Tide Free and Gentle. Tide cleans better than the leading competitive free detergent, and it doesn't leave behind irritating residues.
Plus, Tide Free and Gentle has no dyes or perfumes, so it's gentle on her skin.
Case closed.
If it's got to be clean, it's got to be Tide Free and Gentle.
The views and opinions of the following program are solely those of the host and other contributors. These do not necessarily represent those of Liberty Acquisitions 825, Blue Water Broadcasting, its management, staff, or any advertisers. It's time for Montgomery's conversational radio show. It's news and views on News Talk 93.1 FM. To join the conversation, call 272-9228.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back to News and Views in the afternoon. Of course, we're calling this thing online Joey Clark Live. You can always watch Joey Clark Live on YouTube or at the Joey Clark on X. And joining us now, we have Holly with Lassiter's Hardware. Holly, how you doing today?
Wonderful. How are you?
I'm doing all right, and we're having fun talking off air. But tell us about your business. Tell us about Lassiter's. Y'all are in Hope Hole, and it's hardware. Obviously, it's in the name, but I think y'all do more than what just comes to mind with hardware.
Yes, you name it, we probably do it. We dabble in it anyway. So we're a little hardware store. It was family owned and by Frank Lassiter, and I worked there for about 1,000 years. And then he got ready to retire, and he knew I wanted it, so I bought it. But we really cater to every customer that walks in the door. We focus on good customer service. We do lumber, we do animal supplies, we do feed, we do hardware, electrical, flowers in the spring. You name it, we do it. And I always tell everybody, if we don't have it, we order on Tuesdays, it comes on Thursdays. Beautiful. And I'm looking at y'all on Facebook. And again, it's Lassiter's Hardware. Just follow them on Facebook. And I'm seeing, for instance, y'all's #1 selling deer blind. So for everybody getting ready for hunting season. Yeah, buddy. Gun season opened on Saturday. Oh, there you go. Yeah. We're in the middle of it right now. Yes, indeed. So it just sounds like it is the place to be in Hope Hole for any needs possible. For real. Even if you just want to come talk and hang out, we're good at that too. Now, you said you worked there forever, but how did you kind of get into this position, being here on the radio talking to me about it? Well, after I bought the store, I wanted everybody to know that we had changed ownership. And Dr. Sam just kind of stumbled into my life. And yes, he came to the store and he's like, hey, I think you should go down. And I'm like, what? But here I am. Beautiful. So when did you buy the place? August 26th. Okay, wow.
Congratulations.
Yes, congratulations, truly. So for folks who maybe don't know about y'all, like kind of the main pitch, like, I mean, you're keeping, I'd imagine, a lot of the traditions going. Oh, yeah. But folks should know about y'all if they're in there. For sure. Yeah. So, and we have ammo now. I just started selling ammo. So, if you're out there getting ready to go hunting and you're like, oh man, I forgot my bullets. I got you. So local feed, seed, hardware, fellowship. You name it. Yes. Yeah, it sounds like too, and it also looks like y'all are Purina and Tucker milling feed. And we sell Southern feed also. Okay, beautiful. Yeah, and is it a little bit of a hangout spot? I know folks are coming to buy stuff, but Well, we do really good at talking, and so you come in and you buy what you want, but then we hang out and we talk, and you get good information. Good referrals if you're looking for somebody that does building barns or does plumbing, we got you hooked up, no worries. Well, and it looks like y'all's Facebook page is pretty active here. Y'all are posting on a pretty regular basis. Of course, y'all are closed on Thanksgiving. Like, we'll be closed on Thanksgiving like everybody else. But is there a particular thing, folks, around this time of year, we already mentioned hunting season, but are folks around this time of year coming to see y'all for? Yeah, for winterizing your pipes. So right now, the cold fronts are getting ready to come in. We're selling lots of pipe insulation and the little faucet covers for your outside faucets, just to make sure everything's protected from the cold. The wind starts to blow and your pipes start freezing. Yeah. Hey, but if they freeze, we got plumbing supplies too. There you go, because people need to not let that happen. And for sure. It is an absolute mess. Yeah, and if you need a good plumber, we can always tell you good plumbers too. Okay, beautiful. Am I leaving anything out? Because it seems pretty self-explanatory.
It's super easy. I mean, it's nothing complicated, obviously. But no, I mean, we sell gravel, we sell dirt, again, you name it, we probably do it.
They do it all there. Again, that's Lassiter's Hardware. You can go to Facebook, just type in Lassiter's Hardware, right there on US 31 and Hope Hall.
Yep.
And I've got the number here available should folks want to just ring you up, 288-4133. Of course, it's a 334 area code, folks, 288-4133. And I encourage folks, if they don't already know y'all, they should, because it does. I'm looking at the Facebook page. It looks like y'all have everything.
We try to.
Beautiful.
Do we have a store mascot? I know the little feed store that I had, there was always a goat that hung around with all that seed and feed. I didn't know if you guys might have a pig that was kind of a regular around there.
Well, what's funny is I'm probably considered the mascot because you never know what I'm going to show up to work in. I was bored one day and I went and got a chicken costume and stood out by the road in a chicken costume, and so many people stopped to see what I was selling.
A good time.
That's what I said. Come on in and we'll show you. But it was a really cute outfit. And I had me a sign out there, like the people stand on the side. I was flipping my sign and knocked myself in the head, but it was really fun. So you never know. I guess I'm the mascot.
Beautiful.
Fair enough.
Well, it's great to meet you, Holly.
Nice meeting you too. Thank you so much for having me.
We'll be right back, folks. More after this.
Want to carry News Talk in your pocket? Download the News Talk 93.1 app from the App Store. Available on iPhone and Android. Never miss a moment. Download now.
What's your biggest investment? More than likely, it's your home. So treat it that way when you hire a painting contractor. With PBS Painting, there are no gimmicks, no $99 specials. Just quality painting and someone who treats your home with the same respect that you do. At PBS Painting, we have been painting for years and look forward to many more years to come. With PBS Painting, the job gets prepped properly, whether it's cleaning, scraping, or priming. We always use quality products, which is a must for a quality paint job. So if you're looking for a painter that doesn't need upfront money and is on the job at all times, then please give me a call. Scott Bowers and PBS Painting, 294-5122. That's PBS Painting, 294-5122. Look at some of our work on Facebook at PBS Painting Montgomery.
The Tierce family has been your local Roto-Rooter service since 1964. Drain cleaning, plumbing repair, and those troublesome septic tanks, no problem. Technology has changed a bit in the last 54 years. Video inspections of lines to locate problems is available, as well as scheduling your appointment online. River Region residents have trusted Roto-Rooter for over half a century. You can too. Call today at 272-7130 or visit online at rotorooteralabama.com.
Call Roto-Rooter, that's the name, and we throw troubles down the drain. Roto-Rooter.
Are you tired of the mainstream media's biased reporting? Do you want to stay informed on the news that really matters to you? Look no further than 1819 News. At 1819 News, we bring you the latest in Alabama news, politics, sports, culture, and more. We've assembled a team of journalists with Alabama values dedicated to the truth and the truth alone. Visit us at 1819news.com today. That's 1819news.com. Subscribe to our newsletter. Honest News, Alabama Values.
The Health and Wealth Show. The Health and Wealth Show. The show so nice, we said it twice. Weekday evenings at 6 on News Talk 93.1 WACV. The Health.
Break it up, son. Joke's over, hey?
This hour of news and views is brought to you by our good friends at Alabama Home Mortgage. Alabama Home Mortgage, 567-4223. Visit them on the web at myalabamahomemortgage.com. NMLS number 1586368. An equal housing lender.
We get Montgomery talking 24 hours a day. The River Region's most trusted voice. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back. It's news and views in the afternoon. 272-9228 if you want to get in on the conversation. That's 334-272-9228. I kind of want to check something. Oh, yeah, it's right up to the particular part I want. This is Tucker Carlson on with Clayton Morris. Now, I think both Clayton and Tucker used to be Fox News people. You'll probably recognize Clayton Morris's voice, folks. He was on Fox for the longest time. But, as two veterans of the cable news industry, they're sort of, they've both gone independent. Tucker with his big show, obviously, and Clayton Morris has a show that's gained a lot of ground over the last couple of years called Redacted. Stuff you ain't going to hear in, say, the cable news world. But they're sort of reminiscing about the whole cable news industry. I think we should listen in on this.
Ratings are verifiably in the toilet. I mean, done. Layoffs, MSNBC, no one's watching them. They were on the air this week crying, basically, asking how they can regain relevancy up against, the independent media now and social media influencers. And of course, it's condescending, right? This idea that people are only watching 20-second sound bites is just total bullshit. People are watching your 2-hour shows as one of the most popular shows in America. They're watching Joe Rogan's 3-hour shows as one of the most popular programs in the world, in world history. And so MSNBC gets up there and, denigrates people that they say they're watching 20-second clips and that's all they're doing, and how do they regain relevancy and all of these things. But where do you see journalism going? Elon Musk said, you are the media now after Election Day. How do you think it's going to change and evolve over the next few years? How important is it for citizen journalists?
Well, I would just start by saying there's nothing more corrupt than what we have. So I'm glad that it's going away. There's nothing shallower than cable news. Life in it. So for them to say, the public is reaching conclusions we disagree with because they're not watching long and they're getting all their news from TikTok or something. I just want to restate, there's nothing shallower, dumber, more repetitive, more controlled, less informative than cable news. I think I can say that with authority, so can you. So if they're claiming that the other guys are just not up to their level of journalism or rectitude, that, it's just dogs barking. It means nothing to me.
It's just beautiful to see. And I don't know if you saw the clip we were playing yesterday that Eddie and I were going over. This was Jim Vandehei. He's, I think, the owner of Axios. And so, he's really trying to make the whole Axios thing work. And they've got good, insider information, would you say? But this was a kind of him, Vandehei, reacting to Musk saying, you are the media now, to everybody on X. And it's just a sign of the absolute meltdown of these folks. This does not come across as a confident man who's, I'll put it this way, confident in his industry. It comes across as a guy who is desperate for attention and doesn't understand what to do as the ship is sinking.
Can I ask you a question before you play that? Given your position, do you consider yourself a journalist?
No.
You don't?
I went over this yesterday or early in the week. I asked Eddie, if I ever referred to myself as that? No. And when people have said, oh, you are, I'm like, please stop it. Why do you hate me so much? No, I'd see myself as kind of a commentator, as a fancy idiot, and I purposely try to remain aloof from a lot of stuff because I don't want to be the story, necessarily.
I like the term infotainment. There's no reason why you can't have information mixed with entertainment and provide commentary. But I had an encounter with someone in a similar position who told me that they could not do something because they were quote unquote a journalist. And I just cracked up. I was like, you've never written anything in your life.
Right. Well, and it's stuff like that. I write op-eds, but again, I'm not producing original reporting.
Mm-hmm.
Occasionally we get a scoop. It's often when it falls in our lap. I ended up on national TV because Captain Jim over there at the Harriet II called in after the whole Montgomery Riverfront brawl and got that interview, but it's not like I sought it out. He just called the show. So I treat it as I'm just a normal guy in many ways. And I'm reacting to things in real time. And I hope out of our reactions and conversations and different opinions that are shared here that people get insights that are greater than the straight news reporting, which there's a place for. But these folks are so high on their own supply. And I rant about it yesterday. I just want to play this for you because he is... He's very upset with Elon Musk and this idea that it's now citizen journalists or people who aren't in prestigious institutions that are the real media. Let's listen in.
Matters. Everything we do is under fire. Elon Musk sits on Twitter every day, or X today, saying like, we are the media, you are the media. My message to Elon Musk is, bullshit, you're not the media. You having a blue check mark, a Twitter handle, and 300 words of cleverness doesn't make you a reporter any more than me looking at your head and seeing that you have a brain and telling you have an awesome set of tools makes me a damn neurosurgeon, right? Like what we do, what journalists do, what you did in Mississippi, what Al Jazeera does in the Middle East. You don't proclaim yourself to be a reporter. Like that's nonsense. Like being a reporter is hard, really hard. You have to care. You have to do the hard work. You have to get up every single day and say, I want to get to the closest approximation of the truth without any fear, without any favoritism. You don't do that by popping off on Twitter.
Without any fear or any favoritism.
Yeah.
That's an amazing rant.
If someone does write something without a slant and actually does their due diligence and connects the dots, I'll call them a journalist.
Occasionally I'll write an op-ed where it's barely even my words. I'm just putting different stories together to paint a picture, to connect dots. And it's often I have to be very strict on, is this true? Do I have a basis to say the things I want to say? So even if your opinion, mostly what I am, a commentator, you need to base your opinion in some footing that might be, arguable, but you need sound footing.
Man, so many of these outfits are content starved that, I mean, going from the political side, having a campaign, I've had, reporters or news sites saying, yeah, just send over whatever it is that you want me to publish. So I get to write my story. And give it to them, and they're going to print it as if it's news.
Yes. I mean, that's how so much of this is.
In my experience, that's how most of it
is. And
notice
Elon didn't say we're the journalists now, we're the reporters now. He said X users are the media now. He's right. They're not claiming, most of them on X are not claiming to be journalists or reporters. They're claiming to be media personalities. And some are pretending, and some are doing very well in their pretending to be reporters. They get scoops. You want to get breaking news? It's on X before it's at the New York Times.
100%. We were saying that like 10 years ago. The value of X, or at the time Twitter, was bypassing the editorial board, getting your message or your story straight out to the people without having to go through the gatekeepers.
But that last thing he said, you have to wake up every morning looking to approximate the truth without fear or favor. I'm like, Jim, how do you get your sources inside the U.S. federal government? How do you get your sources within campaigns? Give me a break.
All I hear when I see this dude is, someone stole my tail. He's just having a bad day, man.
Yeah. So when you hear Tucker Carlson saying, it's some of the most stupid, repetitive stuff out there, print journalism used to be a little more prestigious, but I think it's right there with cable news.
When it was more about the advertising than the stories and the reporting, that's when traditional journalism died.
Well, and being straight up, I don't know where talk radio is going to go, because ever since Rush died and people tried to fill in, like, one half of the syndication got Bongino, the other half got Clay and Buck, I think. Clay Travis and Buck Sexton. And they're all fine broadcasters. Like, I look at most of the big names and I don't get like all envious. I'm like, well, I get why Ben Shapiro's got a big show. I get why Glenn Beck's still doing all right. I get why Sean Hannity's still doing all right. But it's not the same thing as when Rush stormed onto the scene in the late 80s, early 90s. And radio still remains one where you actually are touching people every day. Like, people still listen to radio at least for 10 minutes while they're in the car. So it's still a very useful medium, especially for local stuff. But I do wonder, like, the big syndicated radio stuff, which we're not part of, we're independent, is it too top heavy like a lot of the other news? I suspect it is.
I'll go the other way. I don't think it's top heavy so much as some people, Rush in particular, I can remember being in 4th grade, going to Walmart and buying a Rush Limbaugh book in
Yeah.
4th grade.
Yeah.
Like when you say burst onto the scene, he was at that time and place at that point in, you know, our political, you know, culture or whatnot, to be able to capitalize on a lot of angst and people looking for a different outlet. And he was just the first guy that offered that.
Right.
Other people have done it to a lesser degree. I think that so long as people are authentic, credible, and entertaining, and actually committed to this, Joey, you're going to have a long career. And I've told you this in private. The fact that, you know, you quote unquote, or not, should say quote unquote, the fact that you can't be bought off or like just.
No, quote unquote's fine.
Do exactly what I just kind of pointed that some other people do. Like, yeah, tell me what it is that you want me to say or do, and I'll do it for a few shekels. Like, so long as
I ain't doing it for money.
So long as you keep your compass pointed in the right direction, you're going to be successful, or anyone in this field.
Yeah, and the closest I get to something like that is somebody wants to come on to talk about a thing. I'll talk about the thing with you. Like, if you give me an idea and I think it's worth the time to talk about, sure, I will always have questions of my own in my back pocket. It's not like you get to script the show, but when people have good ideas for, like, say, conversation, I'm happy to talk to them. But yeah, I don't like the whole let me pay you so my opinion gets out there like it's your opinion. You're not buying my mouth.
How many aides or staff members shoot you like a confirmation email? So and so is going to be on the show. Here's a list of questions we'd like for you to ask.
Actually, not that many.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. So
I mean,
it happens occasionally.
Happens with the elected people.
And they realize their questions don't get asked, and then at some
I'll
point.
ask some of their questions. Because some of it's like, well, you just introduced that bill and you want to talk? Sure.
Okay.
But I always keep my own questions, sometimes stuff they don't want to talk about, in my back pocket. And I've learned if you are reasonable with people, they don't get too pissed off. But sometimes they do. Who cares?
Those people probably won't want to come back to the show on too many occasions anyway, right?
Right. I don't know. It's a weird time to, especially elected officials, people that have these positions are very scripted, they're very controlled, and Coach Tuberville not as much. But y'all know we've had many politicians on or many candidates on, and people have their message and persona they're trying to build. And often I much prefer talking to somebody who's not running for office and not in office, because they can relax and just be a person, as opposed to folks that always have some goal in mind to why they're talking to you. And it's just, and that most of the is me running into politicians or office holders. I can't think of many other instances like that.
No, I mean that.
Unlike, if I bring somebody who writes a great op-ed, I bring them on. I'm not going to just talk to them about anything. I'm talking to them about their op-ed. Right. Like there's a way this works, but I don't know. I tend to, again, be aloof on purpose, so I don't get many of those requests often.
You sly fox.
I don't get a lot of mail, actually, which I'm happy with.
Yeah, goes in the garbage can.
Yeah, and half the time I'll go look at Facebook Messenger and go, oh, crap, somebody sent me something 6 months ago?
Who does that? I mean, what self-respecting person, reaches out to
There's a lot of good folks.
I'm related.
They're just trying to reach out.
Man, half my family tries to contact me through Facebook Messenger. You have my cell phone.
Yeah, if you got my cell number, that's the best way to get my attention.
Yeah,
and don't call me, text me.
Sorry, that's just a pet peeve of mine.
I hear you, man. Now, and it is a new world. I think the comparable thing to say something like a Rush Limbaugh is essentially Rogan, and I think Tucker Carlson. Like, what people are doing in the podcast space is where all the energy is. It's where most of the eyes and ears are. Print media will always have a place. I think terrestrial radio and local news will always have a place. But in terms of the future, who knows where it's going to go? Because that format of cable news is not like the ideal format. It was only ideal because of the cost of actually broadcasting. So I'll put it this way. Say when it was just the big three, where it was ABC, CBS, NBC. You know how much money it costs to put that signal out to every television with, rabbit ears in America? It costs a lot of money. And so you have very limited talk time because you got to go to the ads. And so the person you're going to hire in that talk time to be the face and voice of that company is going to understand all the guardrails and all the limitations of the technology, and they're going to play ball. And cable news maybe got a little looser than old, say, network TV, but still, it was kind of like Sean Hannity hits you for 10, 15 minutes. Let's stop Hillary Express, then let's go to a commercial on gold and on... And the beauty is the technology has changed where that is just not necessary.
Mm-hmm.
You can still do ads. It'll still be an advertising business. Most of the media will be. But it doesn't have to be that format. That is a relic of a technology that is now no longer cost effective, and it's only running on the fumes of its prestige in the past, which they're, like that rant from Vandahai, they're chewing through very quickly.
Did we discuss, I've read it, I think it was probably 2 weeks ago now, but some of the news networks, in an effort to try to save, the sinking ship, they were looking at podcaster type peoples to fill their content.
Yeah.
Like, talk about not recognizing that you've been whooped. Like,
right.
Let's just go play a different game, folks.
Yeah. And you lost people that were on your side. Elon was on your side. Joe Rogan was on your side. Y'all lost them. Tulsi Gabbard was on your side. You're even losing frickin' Bill Maher, guys. Like, y'all are messed up big time with all this.
Dude, all right, so had breakfast with an old buddy of mine, former gubernatorial candidate, friend, Tim.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
We were talking about where people were with institutions nowadays. And he acknowledged, the difference between when he ran in 10 and where the race was most recently. Like, even the way that media was fractured then, it wasn't the same. In 2010, it was, you had to have 90% of your budget going for broadcast TV.
Right.
Now that number is probably closer to 70, 75.
Right.
You got to diversify through digital, social.
Well, in my sense is digital, social media, Alabama's still, I think, pretty dominated by Facebook.
The entire country, like
TikTok's got a foothold here in the state too.
The demographics, the way that it lines up, 65 and older, you want to use Facebook for pretty much everyone. Facebook is essentially the white pages of social media. Your more educated, conservative, male-leaning audience is more on the ads. Women tend to inhabit TikTok more, and they tend to skew younger. I mean, all this
fascinating.
All this is trackable.
Oh yeah. And it's just, it is going to be a game of how do you reach people, especially when it's not like just media for media's sake. It's more like, I'm a politician, I'm running a campaign, I have so much money, where do I put that money in order to get in front of eyeballs and people's ears?
All podcasters are grass tops leaders. I mean, essentially, if you just use the, grassroots model, I mean, you're going to people who can sway public opinion without going to each of the individuals, So having... What's Joe Rogan's estimated audience? That's a question.
I mean, hundreds of millions.
Okay. So what old model used to be for ABC, NBC is now Joe Rogan.
Oh, yeah. And well, people built careers being just Rogan's friend and being on that show and doing a good job for a few episodes. People go watch this whole podcast industry. Rogan is the center of that universe.
Let's go back, and it's a different industry, but sports radio.
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion, Dan Patrick might be the greatest interviewer across,
He's very good,
whatever industry. The Danettes, no one knew who they were. And because of his success and his format, especially after he left ESPN, now all those people are recognizable and have, success in their own shows.
Well, and I think the wisest politicians, if they can pull it off, will do things like where it's my show or other radio shows around the state. They will not just come in for a hit, like a 10, 15-minute hit, maybe an hour hit even. They do 2 segments. Woo.
They'll stay.
They'll actually stay for 3 hours. Mm-hmm. And we can talk about your thing, like your campaign or what bill you're pushing. Cool, but stay, hang out, and be a normal person about a bunch of issues. And I think there are young, up-and-coming politicians that have the talent to do that. They're not going to screw up because they're on camera and microphone for 3 hours straight. Some will, obviously.
We all do.
Right. But somebody, and you think about the most successful politicians, the ones that do have little gaps or scripts, but they keep going anyway. People go, oh, that's Biden had this. Oh, it's just Joe saying stupid crap. Like, it starts getting baked into the cake. Like all the stuff thrown at Trump, it's like if you can raise your profile to a degree where people get to actually know you, maybe they don't know all of you, but they know you pretty well. You don't have to do a lot of the scripted stuff, and you will probably get a lot more, a much bigger following if you're actually willing to quote unquote hang out.
Scripted equals phony.
Yes.
Phony equals losing.
Yes.
It's that easy.
And I mean, we'll see where it goes because 2026 here in this state, you know how this national election was a big test of this new media. I think here in Alabama, older media still kind of has a little sway, but again, that's more just a prestige based on the fumes of the past. I wonder what will happen in this upcoming cycle because I think it's a different game in terms of how politicians want to reach out to the public. There's nothing beating. You can talk about media all day. If you actually are working your tail off and shaking hands and meeting people at big events and small events all over the state, that's always going to be the most effective, I think.
And what you're pitching and what you sell has to be genuine and real. I mean, that is the underlying premise of all this, whether it's you being in your position, you know, politician running for office, head of department, you know, lobbyist, whatever. Yeah. If people doubt for a moment that you're not sincere in what you say or believe or do, then you lose all credibility. I mean, let's go back to traditional broadcasts, and correct me if I'm wrong. Most of the anchors that we grew up watching with our grandparents kind of achieve their positions or starlight based on covering a certain event early in their career where they gain credibility with the listening or the viewers.
Correct.
I mean, it's kind of the same scenario here. So long as you keep calling balls and strikes, and not what the other side wants, you know, the cooking the book, so to speak, you're going to keep getting listeners and not have an audience.
Yeah, I mean, that's the idea, but we'll see. It's a complicated time in media, and honestly, I'm sort of relishing all the changes that are happening, especially on the national scene. We'll see how it plays out for our dear state.
What do you think? What do you think happens?
I don't know, man. Honestly, I don't know.
I think that as more of the older electorate stops voting, might be the nicest way to say it, that you're going to see an exponential shift away from the old model. And what is it, like 45% of most, I saw something not too long ago that about 40 to 45% of the people in this country are quote unquote content producers. What that content is, who knows? But basically, if you're not putting together and disseminating your own message, product, platform, all that sort of stuff, you're behind the times.
272-9228 if you want to get in on the conversation. I got to hit a break here. But first, this part of the program brought to you by James Cole and Cole Plumbing. And there at Cole Plumbing, they're ready to help you out with any and all of your plumbing needs. Could be everyday issues like a clogged drain or low water pressure. Could be you flush that toilet and it comes up through the shower drain. Uh-oh. That's no fun. Could be you have a massive leak inside or outside your home. Well, they have this proprietary pipelining technology there at Cole Plumbing that allows them with minimal discomfort to you and your home to get in there and solve the problem with precision and expertise. That means they're not going to have to tear out a bunch of drywall inside your house or a huge hole in the front or backyard. No, with precision and expertise, they can solve that issue. And they can also help you upgrade so you don't have a problem other than you want nicer things. So a tankless water heater system, maybe brand new accessories in the kitchen or bathroom, including things like a taller toilet if you're getting up there in age. They can help you with all these things there at Cole Plumbing. So call them today at 279-8919. That's 279-8919. And just remember, folks, when you have trouble with your bowl,
call on Cole.
We'll be right back.
He may not know whether he's coming or going, but whether you're going to work or coming home, Greg Budell is there. Mornings, 6 till 9, and afternoons, 3 till 6. Only on News Talk 93.1 FM, WACV.
Make 2024 the year you break away from the chain stores and join us here at Adams Drugs. We value your business and want to provide you the best customer service at the lowest possible price. We've been serving up excellent customer service here in the River region for over 62 years.
I made the swap to Adams Drugs and I couldn't be happier. Having a job and then getting 3 kids to all of their activities keeps me busy. I don't have an hour to waste waiting on a prescription. At Adams, they know me and my family. I get in and out in minutes, and when I can't get by Adams, they'll bring the prescription right to my door.
What are you waiting for? Come in to Adams Drugs and let us earn your business. Our friendly and personal staff will talk with you and answer any questions you may have about your prescriptions. Your satisfaction is our #1 goal. Visit us at adamsdrugs.net for the location nearest to you. Adams Drugs is your local independent Health Mart pharmacy. Health Mart, taking the time to listen and care.
Now you can add the power of digital advertising to the #1 reach of radio. Let Blue Water's 20 years of local advertising and marketing success show you how. Grow your business with a complete suite of digital solutions, combined with the reach of the most listened to radio group in the river region. Call us or go to bluewaterbroadcasting.com to find out how we can increase your return on investment. Blue Water Broadcasting, local folks helping local business.
For more information, send an email to digital@bluewaterbroadcasting.com.
Rich Thomas Weather, a service of Wiley Sanders Truck Lines, where over-the-road dump truck drivers are needed right now. Home twice a week and every weekend, must leave early on Sunday with Blue Cross Blue Shield. Call them now at 855-777-9785.
Good travel weather across the southeast today and tomorrow, but we have a significant storm system for the holiday. Today, the clouds early clear out, then lots of sunshine later, high in the upper 60s, then mid-40s overnight tonight, dry. Wednesday's high 73 with the sun and cloud mix. Dries through the evening hours Wednesday, but showers and thunderstorms begin in the overnight hours, then wet and stormy at times on Thanksgiving. Some of the storms could be strong, high 71. Then it turns sharply colder, starting Black Friday and then through the Iron Bowl weekend, progressively colder. A little taste of the Arctic on the way. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
For the lowest prices around on flooring and DIY flooring installation supplies, Budget Floors and More is your new best friend. Luxury vinyl plank, carpet, ceramic tile, floor installation supplies, and more with prices lower than the big box stores. Budget Floors and More, Hunter Lane across from Del Rey Publix.
If it concerns your community, you'll hear about it on News Talk 93.1. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back to News and Views in the Afternoon. So as we got on this whole media discussion, here's just a great example of how stupid cable news can be. The one guy who's actually making CNN worth watching is Scott Jennings. He is he's single-handedly keeping CNN afloat with some of his segments. This one is amazing because he starts talking about the new media on CNN, about Elon Musk and X in particular. As I guess the chyron on this piece reads, Musk and MAGA muse about buying liberal network MSNBC. I hope it happens. It'd be the most entertaining outcome.
Your tears are so sweet.
Oh, it's so good. But here's Scott Jennings just keeping CNN alive single-handedly. Let's listen in.
What you're saying about X, I saw a survey this week. It's now the most ideologically balanced user platform.
Scott,
of any
stop,
platform.
stop. It's too early. I just sat down. I've only been here for 2 minutes.
Wait, so he said it's the most balanced user platform, and they're already like, oh, that's just ridiculous.
Horrible.
You can't say that.
You're saying about X, I saw a survey this week. It's now the most ideologically balanced user platform
Scott,
of any platform.
stop. It's too early. I just sat down. I've only been here for 2 minutes. You cannot continue to say. You cannot say that.
So,
So that's the case.
So
Who's the source of that?
what I find, we reported it on this network.
Look at this. The party ID among those who regularly use X, Twitter for news. Back in 2022, 65% of those who regularly use Twitter/X for news were Democrats. Just 31% were Republicans. Look at where we are today. Just a completely different picture. Now it's basically split between Democrats at 48%, Republicans at 47%. And what I should note, Mr. Berman, is this new overall makeup matches the overall electorate far better.
I heard what you're saying.
You know, part of the thing that I find funny about this is the left doesn't want to acknowledge that they allowed the progressive wing of their party to take the platform so far to the left that average Joe citizen, the low P voter who doesn't turn out, for every election.
Well, and they didn't just go really far to the left. They went really far to the left in the most elitist, top-down, like corporatist way. They didn't pull the folksy I'm for the working class. They went hardcore liberal on certain social issues, trying to find the next civil rights movement to get in front of and march in front of, while they also became the party of coastal elites and billionaires on Wall Street. It's a toxic mix.
I'm smarter than you because you can't understand why XY is not correct. You got to have some super algorithm in order to understand someone's sets nowadays.
Yes.
And we determine what that is, not you.
Right.
That's when they lost.
Oh, yeah. They were closed off from the rest of the country. No, and I think there was a phase where folks were like, you remember all those years ago on Bill O'Reilly where Bernie Goldberg come on, talk about the biased mainstream media. And it went from like, oh, they're just Democrat talking points. And it's gone from now like, no, it is an old defunct medium in total, including Fox News. Like Fox is the one outlier that's still, because it's the only type of thing like that. So they get a lot of people to watch. But even compared to some old numbers, it's not that much. I think as soon as people had an alternative,
100%.
They ran away, like joyfully ran away. They skipped the X.
Do we not see that, like, okay, so Fox may be treading water. Are they necessarily growing or are they just holding what they have?
They're just holding what they have.
And I would venture to say that they're not going to have that for too much longer.
I got to hear this again. I love how they're like, what's the source?
And about X, I saw a survey this week. It's now the most ideologically balanced user platform.
Scott,
of any platform.
stop. It's too early. I just sat down. I've only been here for 2 minutes. You cannot continue to say
that.
You cannot say that. That's not the case.
So
Who's the source?
What I find, we reported it on this network.
See that going back.
The
to
source is CNN.
Going back to her reaction, she could not stand the fact that the middle more closely identifies with the Republican Party now than the Democrats, because the daggum Democrats took their platform so far to the left that most of their old members don't recognize it.
Yes. They've lost the working class.
Why is this? You don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure this out.
You really don't. You really don't. But some folks are like, what did we do? Of all people, this happened, like, I think last week. Brian Williams, you remember that guy?
Mm-hmm.
Brian Williams has become a voice of sanity, and let's just listen in. I think this is actually an accurate description of what we're just talking about.
It's insulting when members of the working class, which the Democratic Party has lost entirely in our lifetimes, to insist the economy is doing great. A 12-pack of Bounty is $40. Rich folks don't feel that. Poor folks already switched to Sparkle during the COVID, during the lockdown. And I think telling them that the NASDAQ is gangbusters is further insulting. It's insulting. I think the biggest unforced error of the Biden administration by far was the border. To tell people it's not a problem is insulting. For the working class to see incoming migrants getting welcome bags, debit cards, and motel rooms is probably insulting as well. So there's a lot of work to do. You know, it was when they handed out camo hats that said Harris Walls, and the Democrats they were kind of charmed by that. Their party has gone quinoa, and the rest of America's eating at Cracker Barrel. And so it was kind of an ironic use of something millions of Americans put on their heads to start their day every day. Yeah, they need to reach out to America again and be less about what's called suicidal empathy, worrying so much about minority groups in society and in your party that you win the argument, but you don't win the
election. See, I don't even think you win the argument, a lot of this stuff. And it's interesting. I was talking to you off mic. I see it in this state. There's a class difference between people, and I like to think this show sort of straddles those worlds.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, if I had to be pushed on it, I'd much rather talk to somebody that works with their hands and with their back for a living. Somebody who's in the truck all day. They tend to mean what they say and say what they mean. Now, there's all types in all walks of life. There are people that are upper crust and financially who are very honest people too. But I do get a sense it's more the working class folks that are just pissed off about all the effects. Like, I'm working this hard and I can't afford things like bounty or putting food on the dinner table. And I'm also working this hard and not able to afford things. And I'm told by all these folks with fancy budgets who are living high on the hog that I'm the problem.
Mm-hmm.
That it's because of me and my bigotry that things are going to hell. When it's like, I leave people alone. I just keep my head down and work. And so I tend to much prefer dealing with those folks that are feeling it, that say what they mean, as opposed to, let's just say there's some upper crust in the state in particular. They never say what they mean and mean what they say.
Well, 100% agree with you on that. But even Mr. Williams here was somewhat disconnected from his comment.
Yeah.
The argument of citing what NASDAQ did, 100% agree with. Most people don't give a damn what the stock market did because they don't have a retirement account, much less a diversified portfolio that they can tap into whenever they want to. Trading is not something that they can do. They also don't get to go to Cracker Barrel to eat out. They're going to Winn-Dixie and seeing what's buy one, get one.
Yeah.
And that's what their menu is. They don't go with a shopping list. They go and see what's on sale, and that's what they're buying.
Yes.
That's what people still have not squared in their heads. The country is not in a good spot, economically, politically, or whatever.
Well,
and until people in positions of leadership actually do make hard decisions and cut spending, and don't shoot me for even suggesting this, but entertain raising taxes to balance, we're going to be in the same position. It's not going to get better.
Well, and there's another dynamic here too with the upper crust. It's always the upper crust that are most quick to give you a lecture about the poor.
Feigned outrage.
Well, and not in the way of like we were just talking about it, where folks are struggling and they're tired of it. It's more like, look at these people who are so without, and we need to come up with programs to help them. And you notice in the biggest blue cities in this country, that's where they talk about income inequality and the richest of the rich and the poorest of the poor, the huge gap. Yeah, that really exists in New York City and Los Angeles. And I've seen it with my own eyes in this town. Cloverdale's a very nice area. Very nice. Doesn't take long. Drive a block or two. You'll see some of the poorest places in this city.
Cross Edgemont.
Yeah. It's like, beautiful mansion, been there for generations. Now it's like, what's this shanty? And there's something about that mindset where this connected group is doing great, but right under their noses is always the very folks that they claim they're helping stuck in squalor and really struggling to get by. It's kind of remarkable.
What really irks me is when I hear people say stuff like that, like, oh, we have to help this group of people. What have you done as an individual to help any one person? Don't even focus on the entire group. Just start with one or two people. Help them. Have you actually done anything charitable? Have you stood in a soup line? Have you given a homeless man, a blanket and a cold sandwich? Have you offered him $5 to, rake your lawn? Like, have you done anything?
Or
to
if
try
you
to
just
help?
stop to have a conversation.
Exactly. Or
like get to know somebody.
Or have you just said what a horrible situation it is and we have to help?
Right. Right. And it reminds me of another thing I want to underline. Because you could be like, well, what about the billionaire Donald Trump or the billionaire Elon Musk or Vivek Ramaswamy? All these folks who have made a lot of money. Class is not the same thing as how much money you have in your bank account. You can become very rich. You can win the lottery tomorrow, and you probably still have a different mindset than somebody who was born into a big amount of money. Class is, I think, much more a cultural thing. Are you using the cultural memes and phrases and information? You're signaling the correct things to folks. I think that has much more to do with what class you're in, as opposed to I've got billions of dollars in the bank. For instance, I think Trump, born into money, has billions of dollars in the bank, can probably get a loan whenever he wants from the banks. He never was part of that upper crust. Like, he never really belonged.
Right.
Because he was too gauche, or whatever word you want to, too crass, all these things. And he was notoriously known to be the guy who would talk to every single contractor on the job site, who sent his sons, Don and Eric, to go work as teenagers with their hands on these sorts of job sites. He was the guy that talked to the doorman every day. And it's a different type of person. I think Elon is a whole other type of character. But again, I think Elon genuinely wants to do well by humanity with his goals. It's not about, that quote we shared earlier, appearing to do good. I actually want to do good, and I don't care how much you hate me as I try to do good, how silly you think I am, how insane you think I am. I'm going to try to do good, as opposed to all these folks who go, I want to look good. Let me signal the right thing so I can be invited to all the parties and part of the club, while we're doing some of the worst stuff in the world.
Well, part of the problem is his definition of good doesn't match their definition of good. Yeah, that's a problem.
Yeah. 272-9228 if you want to get in on the conversation. It is amazing how Montgomery is a microcosm of this larger trend, where your most progressive, enlightened folks are like right next door to some of the folks that have very little.
A lot of cities are like that. You can be in the nicest part of town, go take a wrong turn a block and a half away, and be somewhere you shouldn't be. But that doesn't do anything about quote unquote solving the problem. Until people get out of their ivory towers and actually go get their hands dirty, pardon the pun, it's not going to get better.
Yeah, and some of my favorite folks when we're talking about class is sort of that set of small business owners that work really hard to make a business run, and I think the community in this country run. And this is our bread and butter here at News Talk at Blue Water Broadcasting. We have a lot of great small business sponsors. Premier of them, they're all great, but Alabama Home Mortgage, I think, it's competition between Alabama Home Mortgage and Cole Plumbing. Have been with me the longest on this show, and Kim is a true entrepreneurial success story. She's working at big banks, realizes, doing mortgage origination, all this stuff, realizes that I could get a better deal for folks. Like, it's that sort of mentality that leads to somebody going, well, I could get a better deal on my own. I'll start my own business. And the rest is history.
She's actually helping the community.
Yeah. And at Alabama Home Mortgage, they're the gold standard helping you, whether you're looking to buy a home or you're looking to refinance. And especially if you're a veteran, they have veterans in their blood, and they keep up with the latest of what's going on with the VA home loan program. So they're amazing turnaround times. They have some of the lowest closing costs in the community. It's because they don't have that overhead of the big banks. They're a great local small business there at Alabama Home Mortgage, and they can help you find your success story. So if you've been on the bubble with a refinance deal, or if you're looking to buy a home soon, call them up today. Doesn't mean you have to pull the trigger today. It means just get a plan, get a strategy going. Let Kim and Madeline get to know you and your goals. That number, 567-4223. That's 567-4223. Or you can always visit them on the web at myalabamahomemortgage.com. There is a difference in mortgage companies. Let Kim and Madeline prove that to you today. NMLS number 1586368, an equal housing lender. I feel like you've been pulling back the curtain in the last 45 minutes as we've been getting into all this stuff, because I genuinely don't want to be part of the club that runs this state.
Good.
But I also find I'm fascinated by them. So as much as I was talking about the middle class folks, working class folks, they mean what they say what they mean. There is something interesting, maybe cruelly so, maybe I'm a masochist about it, of the folks that are always up to something.
Mm-hmm.
Everything they say is very calculated.
Mm-hmm.
And those people are very interesting people. But I don't trust them one bit.
I think you use interesting in a very kind way. That's not how I would have described them, but to each their own, Joey.
The game is interesting to watch. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, well, when you know some of the players, it's not really the game sometimes that...
Well, that's my motto here. I try to hate the game, but love the players.
I got enough hate in my heart that I can direct it to the people responsible for it and acknowledge that the game should be... for love of the game. I like things in its purest form. I'm naive. I think the government should be run by the people for the people. Call me a schmuck. I believe that. I don't believe that the guy behind the curtain who raises the most money, that's got the dish or the file on someone.
But you know better than anybody that that's how it works.
Yeah, I know, but that's why I also say if good guys don't stay involved, all we're going to have left are the bad guys running the show, and then we're all screwed. I mean, this is our form of patriotism.
And on that note, we got to hit this break. Final hour coming up here on a Tuesday.
Broadcasting from the Riverside Chevrolet Master Control Center, this is WACV Cusana, News Talk 93.1 FM. When it's Chevy, it's Riverside.
With SRN News, I'm John Scott. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu says he will recommend his cabinet adopt a United States-brokered ceasefire agreement with Lebanon's Hezbollah. Netanyahu said he would present the ceasefire to cabinet ministers, setting the stage for an end to nearly 14 months of fighting. A Senate committee taking aim at a barrage of fees being charged by airlines. A Homeland Security subcommittee has issued a report that claims airlines are raking in large amounts of money by charging customers a la carte for a wide range of services that used to be included in the price of a ticket. The report names 3 major airline carriers, United, American, and Delta, as well as low-cost carriers, Frontier and Spirit Airlines. And on Wall Street, the Dow up 5 points, the Nasdaq ahead 100. This is SRN News.
Yo, 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 Dad is in the house. What do you call it, the NordVPN Black Friday deal, huh? The Block Friday deal. Because you block online threats. Black Friday, Block Friday, get it? It's hilarious. Get the NordVPN Black Friday deal and block online threats now. NordVPN is rated as outstanding on PC Mag. Just visit nordvpn.com and discover the benefits of this all-around cybersecurity tool. It will encrypt your online traffic. NordVPN's Threat Protection Pro tool will defend you against web trackers, malicious websites, and malware-ridden downloads. So improve your digital privacy and protection with one simple click. Get the special Black Friday deal at nordvpn.com and enjoy safer internet daily. NordVPN. Cybersecurity built for every day.
Rich Thomas Weather, a service of Riverside Chevrolet Wetumpka. If it's Chevy, it's Riverside. Best price, best selection. Check them out on the web at riversideusa.net.
Good travel weather across the southeast today and tomorrow, but we have a significant storm system for the holiday. Today, the clouds early clear out, then lots of sunshine later, high in the upper 60s, then mid-40s overnight tonight, dry. Wednesday's high 73 with the sun and cloud mix. Dry through the evening hours Wednesday, but showers and thunderstorms begin in the overnight hours, then wet and stormy at times on Thanksgiving. Some of the storms could be strong, high 71. Then it turns sharply colder, starting Black Friday and then through the Iron Bowl weekend, progressively colder. A little taste of the Arctic on the way. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
Web Bobo with Capital Tractor. Get a Kubota RTV with a $2,000 instant rebate or 0% APR. Up to 48 months with approved credit. Get a Kubota now through December 31st, 2024. See Capital Tractor Montgomery and Brundage or KubotaUSA.com for details.
1819 News.
2 of Alabama's congressional delegates are now praising the recent decision coming from special counsel Jack Smith to have his legal cases against Donald Trump dismissed. Smith filed the paperwork this week to have his 2 lawsuits against Trump dismissed by a judge. Those cases are regarding classified documents and the events of January 6th after the 2020 election. Smith's move comes in compliance with the longstanding policy of the Department of Justice to not pursue charges of a sitting president. Congressman Gary Palmer says the dismissals from Smith are a win for the rule of law and that the prosecution should never have occurred in the first place. Congressman Barry Moore said that Smith's legal actions against Trump were all based on make-believe. I'll be back with more Alabama stories after this.
Where I was living was not a great place to live anymore. I began to pray for a place to go, praying for all of these things that a 9-year-old would want. I wanted horses, big house with a bunch of people my age. I wanted parents. I wanted a mom and a dad. Before I even prayed it, the Lord had already answered my prayer with the Big Oak Ranch. Who would that 9-year-old be if she never came to the Big Oak Ranch? I would be trying to fight for survival instead of fighting to break a cycle.
Big Oak Ranch, a Christian home for children needing a chance.
Marshall County authorities are confirming with WAFF News that alcohol was a factor in a crash that killed 2 teens in Albertville. The 2 fatalities have been identified as 15-year-old Giovanna Morales and 13-year-old Tammy Carmelo. 18-year-old Yasmin Ramirez was the driver of that vehicle. Ramirez is now being charged with first-degree assault and vehicular manslaughter. The crash occurred last Wednesday. There are 7 live Christmas music concerts coming to Oxford for the month of December. The first of the 7 concerts will start on December 3rd at the Oxford Performing Arts Center. The last will be held on December 20th. The Oxford Performing Arts Center is in the historic downtown area and seats 1,200 people. I'm Andrea Tex.
For more news affecting Alabamians, go to 1819news.com. And while you're there, subscribe to the daily newsletter.
Hey everybody, this is Dr. Sam, and I am so excited to tell you the last car I bought, it came from Riverside Chevrolet. Now get a load of this. Not only do they have a friendly staff that will answer any question at Riverside, they also have a finance department second to none and a service department that's rated #1. Anything from pre-loved to brand spanking new, cars, trucks, vans, they have it all. And at Riverside Chevrolet, you get first-class service. Check them out on the web at riversideusa.net or check them out on Facebook. Great reviews. You'll love it.
This hour of News and Views is brought to you by our good friends at Cole Plumbing, 279-8919. Cole Plumbing is #1 in the #2 business. You don't have to dig a hole. They have proprietary pipelining technology. Ask them about their tankless water heaters. Remember, when you have trouble with your bowl, call on Cole.
Is your business feeling the heat of cyber attacks? Tired of worrying about ransomware, data breaches, downtime, and employee mistakes? GTI Managed IT Solutions has been your trusted partner since 1999, safeguarding and supporting businesses like yours from the ever-evolving threats in the digital world. GTI, your peace of mind is guaranteed. Call us today at 819-4650 or visit gtinow.com.
The views and opinions of the following program are solely those of the host and other contributors. These do not necessarily represent those of Liberty Acquisitions 825, Blue Water Broadcasting, its management, staff, or any advertisers. It's time for Montgomery's conversational radio show. It's News and Views on News Talk 93.1 FM. To join the conversation, call 272-9228.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back to News and Views in the afternoon. Byron Sheehy had to leave, so I'm flying solo for the final hour here of the program. 334-272-9228 if you want to get in on the conversation, and that's the number Papa B dialed. Hey, how you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing good. Just got out of the eye doctor.
Oh.
So I got my eyes dilated, and I'm trying to drive.
Did they tell you anything you didn't already know?
No. They said I wasn't going blind.
Good. Now here's your new readers.
So that's a good thing.
Wait, do you have the? We'll get into what you want to talk about. Do you have my uncle Scott, who I'm going to see at Auburn for Thanksgiving? He's got the glasses that go around your neck and then they clip like magnet. Like there's a magnet in the center of them.
Yeah. I've seen those. I thought I'd like something like that.
I just think y'all about the same demographic. It could work out.
It might work out. So anyway, Joey, there's got to be some consequences for these folks that have put Trump and really the whole country through the ringer. We just can't just let them go. Not like what? Oh, we won't do it again. Yeah, you will. Yeah, they will. Just as quick as they get a chance to, they will. I mean, there's got to be some kind of way to shut people down, like Jack Smith, Judge Mershant, Chutkin, the Pillsbury Doughboy up in whatever his name is, up in New York, Fat Fanny, all of them. They got to be shut down. What do you think ought to happen to them, and what can happen to them? Have you heard anything?
I think some of them, for instance, think of Fannie Willis. Like, I think she, by going this direction, ruined herself. I mean, there's going to be some folks that always, love her for going after the Donald, but I think what came out with her and Nathan Wade and stuff, it's incredibly embarrassing, and I think she's going to have a little trouble going forward. I don't know about Jack Smith, of course.
She just got reelected.
Well,
so.
Well, and that's the deal, man. It's like these are local folks. Alvin Bragg's local. Tisha James is local there to New York. Jack Smith, I think he'll just go into obscurity. He's going to go run and hide.
Maybe. I don't know. I think that would be disbarred. I think that, something really what needed to happen the whole time is that the Supreme Court just needed to draw all of them up to the Supreme Court and make some decisions instead of having to just drag out through the kangaroo court beneath them, where they're just making stuff up, trying to throw mud on the wall and to hope something would stick. Anybody with half a brain can tell there's just nothing there. And so, I'm hoping that somebody in the federal government will take action to actually teach some people a lesson. Say, look, you just can't do this. Okay, if you got a case to make, fine. But you can't just throw something out there, And so it ought to be, I think it ought to, something like a prosecution of a former president, they ought not be able to bring it in a local court. Okay? They ought to have to bring it up to a higher level so that it could be expedited in some way. What do you think about that?
I don't know. It's hard to create a precedent out of this. I kind of just agree with Trump that my revenge will be my success, I think is what he said. And the best way you get a lot of these people to feel bad, to feel any sort of punishment, if somebody's broken the law, okay, you go after them in that regard.
Sure.
But if they haven't broken the law, I think Trump having brilliant success sort of is the sweetest deal.
That's just not enough for me, honestly. It's just not enough. I mean,
I'll try not to get on your bad side then. Dadgum.
Yeah, well, some of these people are so evil and so bad, they need something. They need some consequences, Joey. It's kind of like the little spoiled kid, the little brat kid that, has been getting away with all kind of bad things all his life, and then finally it's time for him to pay the consequences of it, and somehow you just let him off like he's going to learn a lesson. No, it's not going to happen, because just as soon as Trump gets out of office again and they get back in power again, they're going to do it all over again. And I mean to Trump. They're going to do it to Trump. So something has got to go down somehow to put the kibosh on it. As Barney Fife would say, nip it in the bud. Anyway, all right, guys, so I'm looking for justice. I want justice.
We'll see.
Anyway, all right, thanks a lot.
Appreciate it. Oh, excuse me, folks. Let's go to line 3. You're on there. Who's this?
Hey, this is Thunder.
Hey, Thunder.
Do I want these cases to go away like everyone else does?
Hold on. Before you keep going, our connection is awful.
Let me try again. Okay, bye.
Yeah, call me back. And that number's still 272-9228. Hey, well, Thunder's calling us back. This part of the program brought to you by Bo Goodson and the Goodson Group. And there at the Goodson Group, Bo and his team are ready to help you with buying or selling here in the River Region real estate market. Bo's been helping buyers and sellers in the Montgomery and surrounding areas in real estate for nearly half a century now. And not only can they help you there at the Goodson Group buying or selling your property, they have management services available should you want to rent out your home. And then the crown jewel there at the Goodson Group is the Bo Goodson Real Estate School, one of the most highly acclaimed and accredited real estate programs in the state of Alabama because of Bo's experience, 50 years he's bringing to bear, as well as just a very interactive course. So folks are ready to hit the ground running, whether it's fully licensed realtors or as more knowledgeable private players in the real estate game. So check them out today. You can always go to thegoodsongroup.com or give them a call at 551-0225. That's 551-0225. Bo Goodson and the Goodson Group, great sponsor here of the program. Let's see if we got Thunder back. Hello?
It is.
Much better.
And thank you much. I appreciate it. Not only does Donald Trump need to go against all of these attorneys, and thankfully all of these cases are rapidly falling, which is exactly what they should do. They should never have been brought in the first place. These individuals that were accused along with Donald Trump, who spent millions of dollars attempting to protect themselves, attempting to protect their law licenses, attempting to protect their families. They need to be made whole. And they need to be made whole by these attorneys who went after them with such vengeance. There are people who absolutely lost everything in order to try and keep themselves out of prison or to keep their way of life. I find it reprehensible that we have allowed certain attorneys, district attorneys, and judges to create the level of lawfare that they have done in the last few years. This should stop. And a good way to stop it is to put a really good, angry attorney on their case. What better job than that case to have than to go against every one of these attorneys, with the exception of the ones who would like to get him. A good lawyer is never good for himself.
Right.
He needs a lawyer for himself. But he sure as rip could rip Fannie Willis, Letitia Gates, Eric Adams, and the rest of those idiots, you a-holes. And they need to do it. He needs to go against them, and every one of them need to be revealed for the absolute worst of attorneys that they are. They ought to be ashamed. But he ought to go after them, and like I said, each one of these people that accused others, they need to have to pay for it. It is not right to have to defend yourself against a bogus charge and declare yourself guilty for something that really you didn't do in order to stay out of jail. That is wrong. What part of that makes sense to anybody? And the only way it can stop is to go after the attorneys and the district attorneys who started this and put a stop to it by saying, okay, you want to accuse so-and-so of doing that? He didn't do it. You have to pay him. You have to pay all of his legal fees. You have to reimburse him for what you have taken.
Lawsuits could definitely be in order. I just think there's also a lot on, say, President Trump's plate in particular.
And that's not going to need to be on his plate. It needs to be on somebody else's plate.
Right.
He needs to let them go with it, say, have at it, do your worst.
Yeah, I know there have been some lawsuits filed, but we'll see for all the folks y'all keep naming. I just, like I said to Papa B, I generally agree with Trump that his greatest revenge will be success.
Oh, and that is very true. That is very true. Because that will be revenge against all these people in the back who not only have filed lawsuits against him, but all of those who sit back and say, oh, this is bogus. This is the worst that we can do. When you have the best and you have to go and recreate this country or recreate the republic that we are, that's probably some of the hardest work that our legislators and our president will ever do. I pray every day for their safety and for what they do. But when we talk about these other attorneys and that have filed suits, they need to never again be able to practice law, ever. Doesn't matter where it is. They did this. They need to never be able to practice law again.
I hear you.
Tough.
But
they did it.
Keep in mind also they failed, and that's got to sting a bit.
But I used to tell my little boy, if you don't start a fight, they won't be one.
Well,
they started to fight. We need to fight. If we do not fight for this country, for everything that this country represents, we will not have a country. We dodged a huge bullet on November the 5th, and we cannot let that be the only bullet. We cannot let that be the only instance that we come together to fight for this country. We have to stay concerted. We have to stay together, and we have to stay strong about it. So thanks, guys. I appreciate it. If I do not get a chance to talk to you tomorrow, May everyone out there have a wonderful Thanksgiving. May you be able to spend it with friends and family and loved ones that you love. And may those that you remember always be in the background and in your heart. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Happy
Stay safe.
Thanksgiving. Thank you.
Bye.
Heartfelt message there at the end. Well, and throughout. Again, 272-9228 if you want to get in on the conversation. I'm flying solo. I'm here in this room by myself, heading into the Thanksgiving holiday. I need a little love. Could be simple. Tell me what you're thankful for. It does not have to be a serious answer. At 334-272-9228. Some breaking news happened about an hour ago. It looks like a ceasefire is in the works between, let me get this right, Israel and Hezbollah. So no mention of Hamas. But Netanyahu himself put his weight behind a proposed ceasefire deal mediated by the United States and the French that would suspend fighting between Israel and the Lebanese armed group Hezbollah after more than a year of conflict. The length of the ceasefire will depend on what happens in Lebanon, Mr. Netanyahu said in a televised address. With the full understanding of the United States, we are preserving full military freedom of action. If Hezbollah breaks the agreement and seeks to arm itself, we will attack. So a little gift, it looks like, to Donald Trump as he's coming into the presidency. Israel had been ramping up attacks around Beirut as talks of the ceasefire were ongoing. Fascinating aspect of it, Hezbollah will not be a party to the ceasefire. Because, number one, the United States designates Hezbollah as a terrorist group. The agreement would be between Israel, the United States, the French, and the government of Lebanon. And the idea would be to push Hezbollah, I think, behind north of the Kitani River. And you go, wait, wasn't this the agreement years ago and the UN didn't hold up their end of the bargain? Well, instead of UN troops, it looks like the idea will have the Lebanese army in that buffer zone in between the border of Israel and where Hezbollah might be actually setting up shop on the other side of the river. Who knows if it holds? That when I saw that, it's just like, good. I think the killing should stop. I think it'd be nice. It is a great gift to President Trump incoming as president-elect to not have more and more conflict brewing as soon as he takes over the reins. I think there are a lot of leaders around the world, including Netanyahu himself, who understand this. But you got to wonder if it will hold. 272-9228. Also, in other news, Trump has selected James Braid, a close ally of Vice President-elect J.D. Vance, as Director of Legislative Affairs in the White House. Also chose Matt Brasso as Director of Office Political Affairs and Alex Lakeman, I can't talk today, as Director of the Office of Public Liaison. All three will be Deputy Assistants to the President, according to the announcement. So, the administration's slowly but surely being put all together. You just got to wonder what tricks the establishment have up their sleeves as Trump is incoming and they are outgoing. You never know. They came up with the whole Russia collusion thing the last time he got in there. They're not going to do the same trick twice. Who knows what will be coming next? 272-9228, like I said. This part of the program brought to you by Josh and Leslie Ryder there at Dillon Rings. And at Dillon Rings, they are a full-service jewelry shop ready to help you out. If you are looking for a great Christmas gift, they have earrings on sale right now. Diamond earrings, 30% to 60% off. Just go to their Facebook page. Just Dillon Rings on Facebook, DYLAN Rings on Facebook, and see some of these amazing earring sets that are on sale. We're less than a month away to Christmas, folks, so you need to get on top of it, especially you gentlemen. I know y'all like to procrastinate a little bit. I get it. I like to procrastinate too, but stop. Go by there today, because you can look at it on Facebook, but there's nothing like actually seeing these amazing jewelry items in person at 119 Brown Springs Road. just off Atlanta Highway here in Montgomery, kind of where the whole AUM complex is, where the old Fun Zone used to be. And it's not just those great items on sale for the holidays. They can do things like spa treatments. So maybe you want to spruce up an older piece of jewelry that's lost its shimmer and shine. They can do that for you quickly there at Dillon Rings. Maybe it could be your Christmas gift is a custom design piece of jewelry. Josh Ryder can get on top of that. And maybe it's a project you do together with the person you're getting that custom jewelry for. Of course, they can also do appraisals and repairs across the board. They do it all. Full service jewelry shop. So check out Dillon Rings today. Again, 119 Brown Springs Road here in Montgomery. And be sure to tell Josh and Leslie that Joey fella, the guy on the radio, sent you.
Want to carry News Talk in your pocket? Download the News Talk 93.1 app from the App Store. Available on iPhone and Android. Never miss a moment. Download now.
This is your roving reporter, and today I am talking with an elk. Hey man, Mr. Elk, I was just wondering, what do elk do to take care of their money? Well, like most smart folks, we call David Ernest. You mean Alabama's most favorite asset preservationist? That's him, man. We call him up at 334-279-7431 or 205-479-0839. I see. Yes, he is our preferred money man. The money man with the money plan. You've been paying attention. Well, could you give us those numbers one more time? 334-279-7431 or 205-479-0839. And I just want to try to give you a heads up, man. Oh, what's that? I'm not an elk. Not an elk, huh? Well, then, pray tell, what are you? Knights of Columbus. I am not even going to make a comment. Well, the baby liked it.
Febreze. As a rideshare driver, I love keeping my car smelling fresh and clean. So when I'm driving, I only trust Febreze car vent clips, featuring 3 distinct intensity settings, because it's that little touch that sets me apart. I can turn the intensity down for subtle freshness, or I can turn it up for when I want lots of scent. So whether it's set to low, medium, or high, with Febreze car, I know my car's going to smell amazing. Which keeps my driver rating right where it belongs. Picking up, Oscar!
For too long, Alabama's statewide news companies have shamed us for our conservative Christian values. Alabama deserves a news company that cherishes our culture, a company that isn't bought and paid for by the powers that be. 1819 News is that company. Run by Alabamians for Alabamians, 1819 News celebrates what is good and beautiful about our state, while exposing those who work against our values in secret. Just go to 1819news.com to learn more. Subscribe to our newsletter. That's 1819news.com. This hour of News and Views is brought to you by our good friends at Cole Plumbing, 279-8919. Cole Plumbing is #1 in the #2 business. You don't have to dig a hole. They have proprietary pipelining technology. Ask them about their tankless water heaters. Remember, when you have trouble with your bowl, call on Cole.
News and talk without the static. The River Region's most trusted voice. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back. Now, as mentioned earlier, Trump came out with a big old tariff threat. He's like, you want to see my tariffs? Here's my tariffs. 10% on China, citing the ongoing fentanyl crisis. The Chinese, of course, say, well, we've already cracked down. We don't have anything to do with that. Why are you putting an extra 10% on? Nobody can win a trade war, said some of the Chinese spokespersons. But that's not where Trump stopped. More interesting than throwing a 10% tariff on China, Trump decided to threaten a 25% tariff on both Canada, or is it Canada, and Mexico, or Mexico. Both 25% on Canada and Mexico. And you're like, what is this madman doing? Doesn't he understand a tariff is a tax? What is this crazy guy that so many people now love? What is he up to exactly? Well, 12 hours later, here's Justin Trudeau talking about his phone call with the president-elect.
Bonjour tout le monde. I had a good call with Donald Trump last night again. We obviously talked about laying out the facts, talking about how the intense and effective connections between our two countries flow back and forth. We talked about some of the challenges that we can work on together. It was a good call. This is something that we can do, laying out the facts, moving forward in constructive ways. This is a relationship that we know takes a certain amount of working on, and that's what we'll do.
Shut up, silly woman.
One of the really important things is that we be
Seriously, shut up, Justin. I'll just say that Justin Trudeau doesn't sound like he's the one in charge, by any means. It ain't Trudeau, and also Mexico very quickly came out and said, well, I think we can make a deal with Trump. The president of Mexico, see if I can say this name, Claudia Sheinbaum, good Spanish name right there, addressed U.S. President-elect Donald Trump's renewed threats of steep tariffs this week, asserting that migrant caravans are no longer reaching the U.S.-Mexico border. See, I think this is going to be a lot of deals done even before he is actually sworn back into office. It's these sorts of threats that he is, yes, crazy enough to do that will drive the car towards better outcomes. It is fascinating that this is essentially an opening salvo with Canada and Mexico and a blow-up of the very trade deal Trump himself helped put together, the USMCA. You know, he blew up NAFTA, and he created, think of it like the YMCA, USMCA. But this is him saying, you know what? I'm not just talking about trade now. I'm now talking about the migrants. I'm talking about the fentanyl. I'm talking about the cartels. It'd be a shame if we talked about how much the cartels control your government, President Sheinbaum. He's adding a lot of things to the discussion under the auspices of trade, using the tariff as a general threat beyond how many cars are going to be shipped into the nation while assembled in Mexico. He's moving the tariff threat as a means of conducting foreign policy right now in our own backyard. You hit the folks closest to you the hardest. Say, hey, this is an opening salvo. What do you got for me? And he's doing it early. Still have a month or two until he actually takes office. But it is interesting how Trump gets in there. Oh, Israel just brokered a ceasefire with Hezbollah. Despite the Biden administration's efforts to inflame the Ukraine-Russian war, it looks like, they're pulling back a little bit. The Russians are going to bide their time for the time being, though who knows? Who knows what the American foreign policy establishment has up their sleeve? I repeat myself. But it's fascinating how Trump comes in and all of a sudden these plans and all these, it can't be done. He makes a few threats, he makes a few phone calls, and things start changing. Changing quickly. He's back. But not soon enough. This lame duck period, this dead duck period, well, the duck ain't dead enough for me. 272-9228. Let's go to line one. You're on there. Who's this?
Joey, are we going to survive this dead duck period?
I think we'll survive. It's just a question of how much do they screw it up.
The longer I listen to you, the more I realize, and I'm speaking for myself here, that us simple-minded, how little we actually know. But
what are you talking about?
Oh, after listening to you, how it's like it's difficult to follow you, but I do have a little nugget, if you will allow us.
What was difficult to follow? Maybe I can clear it up.
Oh no, I'm following you. I'm sorry. Okay, you said earlier that Trudeau not in charge, so I am assuming that we mean maybe the deep state is in charge, or others that pull the puppet strings. Is that fair enough?
No, the bilateral relationship between the United States and Canada isn't, yes, the deep state and staffers. Trump's the guy driving the car.
Okay, but I'm speaking of Trudeau.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And some of us out here don't understand what deep state is, but I have an observation I would like to share.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, I'm at work in a private school at Perry County, and I worked there 3 years. Those were not consecutive 3 years. I was there a year and left, came back for 2. Each year I was there was a new headmaster. In each year I was there was a new athletic director.
Mm-hmm.
Those people were in positions of authority,
right?
And they made some decisions, but actually the deep state was in charge. You follow me?
No, that's one way to put it.
And of course, everybody that's ever worked at a school understands who knows what's going on, and oftentimes they may not be pulling the levers, but this individual is the one that they run to. When I say they, I mean the students.
Yes.
When the people that are actually are supposed to be in power, try to get them to do a little something, but then they don't want to. It's called discipline. But then the deep state undermines, and that's why those people only last as long as they last. Henceforth, if you apply that to our president or our president-elect, when he runs into these walls where the deep state doesn't want to let him do what he needs to do,
mm-hmm.
and that's why we get the pushback or the resistance. Am I making any sense at all?
No, you're making a lot of sense. I would expand it out. There's a deep state, I think, which is an old Turkish term, where it's more like, I think of deep state, I think of the intelligence community. I think of the State Department. I think of like folks that really do have secrets, and it's not just unofficial. It's not just unofficial people who have power. I would suggest what you're talking about, and it's been a development for decades now, is the sort of professional managerial class. It exists in a lot of our government institutions, including education. It exists in a lot of our corporations in the private world, and of course it exists in government, where it's essentially middle management is they run the show. No matter how strong the executive is, you get exceptions to that rule like Elon Musk or even on Mark Zuckerberg. But generally speaking, it's sort of that, what was, before Musk blew up Twitter, like what were those 80% of people who got fired actually doing? And some of that is, well, they're making themselves useful by tweaking a lot of things and pulling levers when they really shouldn't be. And I think that exists in so many of these institutions that are entrenched. Add to that at the government level, what I just mentioned about the secrets, and there's always a role for secrets, and that's where it gets really gnarly.
And if it's too big to succeed, is that what we're getting at, Joey? If we trim back 80%?
It becomes run by managers, people that know how to massage and manage the situation, and they lack vision, and they manage themselves to death because they didn't change enough. I think that's where we're at.
Massage. I could use a massage. Oh, well. That's something I got to look into, Joey. What you think?
Well, be careful where you go. I don't want you ended up like that Patriots football owner.
Oh, no. Joey, it's always my pleasure, man.
Thank you. 272-9228. That's 334-272-9228. Yeah, I think with Trump in particular, folks, and more so than even in his first term, because he was more learning the ropes, learning on the job. One thing I've heard from bureaucrats I've talked to, say within the military establishment, on the civilian side, what they get frustrated by is that these institutions, pick a bureaucracy, pick the State Department, for instance. The State Department, they have all sorts of plans. It is a massive institution with career people who assume they cannot be fired by incoming presidents. Maybe that assumption's wrong. That will be tested by DOGE. And I think Trump's OMB, Office of Management and Budget, this time around. But assume that it's all these career people. You've got thousands, if not millions of folks all kind of part of this machine. And so it takes a lot of time to turn the ship of state around. And yet, Trump still treats this thing not like a massive organism unto itself that kind of has its mind already made up. Trump treats this thing like he would one of his own businesses. I'm the boss. I say what goes. I have the executive authority. This is the direction we're going in. I don't care if you've made plans for the last 20 years that you're going in that direction. We're going in a different direction because, again, I'm the boss. So we need to change. And I think there are a lot of people who are used to the current culture in Washington and in corporate America and a lot of, say, elite institutions that get nervous around people like Trump, around people like Elon Musk. I think there is a lot of managers, a managerial class, so to speak, that would prefer they just keep doing what they're doing and the figureheads just keep on figureheading without actually running the show. But with Trump back, whether it's trade, whether it's negotiations over foreign policy, they're starting to realize, pardon me, daddy's home. He thinks he's the boss. Maybe he's not the boss. He thinks he's the boss, and he can hurt us a lot. He does have a lot of executive authority. So we better at least play ball with the guy. And that is why I think whether on trade, whether on wars we're in the middle of, and several other things, it'll be interesting to see how much capital Trump has with forcing the Congress's hand. I think that's where he'll get the most resistance, especially the Senate. We'll see. But now that he's back running things, it sort of takes away the committees and the managers managing, their own little spheres and not being bothered by folks. No, daddy's home. And he has some things he wants to say and some plans he has to renovate the house. We'll see. 272-9228 if you want to hop in on the conversation. This part of the program brought to you by Pest Pro Services. And Ashley and Pest Pro there are ready to help you out with any and all of your pest control needs. Could be you've got an emergency. We've been talking about how in-laws are coming over. They're highly critical, especially your mother-in-law. You're trying to get the house cleaned up for Thanksgiving. Maybe they're coming by more around the Christmas holidays, and you're just a little anxious because they make you anxious. They're so critical, these in-laws. And you don't want them pointing out, is that a cockroach? You don't want them pointing out, is that ants in your kitchen? Maybe you just want to be certain. Well, call up Pest Pro Services. They can take care of it for you. And maybe you don't have annoying in-laws showing up. You just want a local, trusted, truly skilled, and professional pest control company. That's Pest Pro Services. They've been growing leaps and bounds over the last few years for a good reason. They're just that good, and local folks who are easy to work with. So when you spend your money with them at Pest Pro, you know that money's staying here in the local economy. So call them up today. Make an appointment today, 265-9990. That's 265-9990. Or you can always go to ppsriverregion.com or just search Pest Pro Services on the Book of Faces. When you want to know, call a pro. Pest Pro Services. And be sure to tell Ashley and that great team there that Joey, the fellow on the radio, sent you.
He may not know whether he's coming or going, but whether you're going to work or coming home, Greg Budell is there. Mornings, 6 till 9, and afternoons, 3 till 6. Only on News Talk 93.1 FM, WACV.
Hi, Rich Thomas here. I'm in Prattville at the Depot Furniture Gallery. The Depot is having an unbelievable sale. They are moving, and with a showroom and warehouse full of inventory, they want to get it sold so they don't have to move it to their new location. With the Depot buying directly from the factories by the truck and container loads, their prices are amazingly low. But now with this moving sale, everything is an additional 50% off the already low sale price. And that includes everything: bedroom, dining room furniture, kitchen islands, entertainment centers, pictures, lamps, and accessories. Also, the 50% sale includes rugs from their rug gallery. The Depot has a great selection of rugs for Oriental weavers and lowly rugs. Trust me, you don't want to miss this 50% off moving sale. The Depot is located at 616 Highway 82 West Prattville, inside Prattville Pickers, hours 10 to 6 Monday through Saturday, and Sunday 1 to 5. Call 334-380-3300 or find the Depot Furniture Gallery on Facebook.
Lewis at the Capital Oyster Bar, and I just want to tell you, if you're in business or got an event coming up and want to do some advertising, wisely spent dollars are spent down here at Blue Water Broadcasting. All the guys are nice, easy to work with, and I see results, I guarantee you.
Radio works. It's as simple as that. Call us to find out how radio can work for your business. Blue Water Broadcasting. Local folks helping local business.
This hour of news and views is brought to you by our good friends at Cole Plumbing, 279-8919. Cole Plumbing is number one in the number two business. You don't have to dig a hole. They have proprietary pipelining technology. Ask them about their tankless water heaters. Remember, when you have trouble with your bowl, call on Cole.
Rich Thomas Weather is brought to you by Clark Heating, Air and Plumbing. Fall is officially here, and it's time to get your system ready for the winter. Call today about the advantages of the Clark Club membership to be sure you're covered. Call 277-2125 or go to clarkcomfort.com. Better call Clark. Alabama certification number 09098.
Well, hi, everybody. We have some weather changes on the holiday horizon, but tonight should be dry, mostly cloudy, low temperature down to about 40. Tomorrow, look for a sun and cloud mix, high around 73, very comfortable, and dry through the evening hours, but showers and thunderstorms coming in the overnight hours Wednesday night, and wet and stormy at times on Thanksgiving. Some of the storms could be strong. Thursday's high 71, then sharply colder on Black Friday and progressively colder over the Iron Bowl weekend. Get ready for a change of wardrobe. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
CB&S Bank has a long history of stability and a legacy of serving our community's needs for generations since we began in 1906. At CB&S Bank, we're here for you. All loans subject to credit approval, member FDIC, and equal housing lender.
The River Region's first and only news talk station on FM. Live, local talk. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back to News and Views in the afternoon. 272-9228. If you want to get in on the conversation, that's 334-272-9228. Or you can just comment. Just go to the live stream, Joey Clark Live on YouTube. And my old friend Eric, old roommate. I'm serious. We need to have dinner soon, Eric. But he says the tariff on Canadian lumber is going to be a major win for Southern Forest and Alabama in particular. They have been dumping in the U.S. He goes on, again, my old roommate Eric, think of all the lumber plant expansions and new builds that will come to our area and help rural communities with great jobs. Well, there you go. That's the spirit. Now, and I suspect, again, this is just an opening salvo. This is just an opening shot from Trump that, hey, Mexico, hey, Canada, you're going to have to renegotiate the deal because it's not just about you dumping, say, lumber, Canada, or you selling too many cars into the United States, Mexico. It has more to do with a lot of other policies that aren't trade specific. So I think Trump trying to renegotiate the deal before he's even sworn in, gets their attention, doesn't it? Got the whole world's attention. We'll see how it all plays out and what a final deal might be. But CNN and Harry Inton there at CNN continue to be amazed at Trump's approval. Especially during this transition, his approval, Trump's, has continued to climb and climb and climb again. So let's listen in, see what the numbers are since Trump won the presidency.
Take a look here. President Trump's transition net approval. You go back to November of 2016. Look at this. It was just at plus 1 point. Just at plus 1 point. That is well below the historical norm. Look at where we are today. Significantly higher, plus 18 points. That's 17 points higher on the presidential transition net approval rating. The bottom line is this. If 8 years ago Americans were lukewarm on Donald Trump, at this particular point, they're giving him much more the benefit of the doubt. A lot more Americans are in love with this transition. This much more meets the historical norms where normally presidents get that boost coming out of their victory. And what we're seeing here is Donald Trump's presidential transition is getting a thumbs up, and dare I say, 2 thumbs up from the American people.
And, we're still in the appointment phase at this point, but it does give insight to sort of where this team is thinking to lead some of these key departments, of course. But how do people feel about the prospects of his presidency, given the context of some of these picks?
Yeah, it's not just that they like what Donald Trump is doing right now. They're optimistic for the future. So, again, let's compare ourselves now versus where we were 8 years ago. And what you see 8 years ago, 53% of Americans were scared or concerned, the majority towards the upcoming Trump term. Look at where we are now. The shoe is on the other foot. 53% of Americans are excited or optimistic. It's flip-flop, where a narrow majority 8 years ago were scared or concerned about the upcoming Trump term. Now what we see is that the majority is excited or optimistic about the Trump term. So
it almost, what's that phrase? That old chestnut. Absence makes the heart grow fonder. There's some of that going on with Trump. People are thinking back, going, "Oh, it wasn't that bad," especially non-political people. Wish he wasn't so crazy. He wouldn't tweet so much. Well, I disagree there. That's the most fun of this whole thing, is that he is a kind of a loose cannon. But it is amazing to see that flip over the last 8 years, especially when you think about the number that the corporate media did after January 6th and how much Trump was being hit and also just removed off social media, all these things. And I think what happened is absence makes the heart grow fonder. Trump became humanized in the 2024 election. He's been demonized, and in some ways he was valorized. Like, oh, look, he's this great guy. The first folks who voted for him. Then he's demonized incessantly for years and years and years on every little thing. They threw everything at the man. And I think what happened, especially with the new long-form podcast, thank you, Theo Vaughn, thank you, Joe Rogan, is Trump became humanized. And people are going, well, we'll see. At least I'm excited. At least I'm optimistic. Let's see what the guy who disrupts things actually disrupts. And indeed, that's the game we're playing right now, waiting and seeing. We'll be right back.
Want to carry News Talk in your pocket? Download the News Talk 93.1 app from the App Store. Available on iPhone and Android. Never miss a moment. Download now.
Are you happy with your IT support company? Do they resolve your company's computer issues quickly, or do they leave you down and frustrated? You need your computers working and problems resolved quickly and permanently. GTI is different. GTI has a high standard of affordably supporting and protecting businesses like yours since 1999. Call them now at 819-4650, 819-4650, or visit gtinow.com.
This hour of News and Views is brought to you by our good friends at Cole Plumbing, 279-8919. Cole Plumbing is number one in the number two business. You don't have to dig a hole. They have proprietary pipelining technology. Ask them about their tankless water heaters. Remember, when you have trouble with your bowl, call on Cole.
Live, local talk. The River Region's most trusted voice for news and opinion. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Joey Clark.
Let's go right to the phones and talk to Ray Bowles from Bradville Carpet. Hey, Ray, how you doing?
Well, my mind's about blown.
Yeah?
Yeah, we did that epoxy floor training this morning. One more day of that, and we'll have that down pat. Now I'm sitting here with my favorite builder, Ronnie Nummy. You want to say hey, Ronnie?
Hey.
Hey, Ronnie.
How you doing?
Good. How you doing?
Coming over, trying to get some budgets up on a floor plan he's working on. And that's something we don't talk a lot about. If you're building a house and you got a set of plans, you're like, oh, we got to get a budget for the bank, or we need to know where we're going to be at. Bring us the plans. We don't charge anything to go through the plans. Figure out a budget for you guys. And then I know you're not going to see me for another 6 months after that point. But it is the first start of building is getting the budget put together. And I highly recommend to get a good builder. Very critical. It's the biggest investment in your life. And the last thing you need to do is go with the cheapest builders, guys. I've seen that 100 times.
Yeah. Well,
just
and
throw that little tidbit out there.
No, I think that's 100% correct. And then folks will know, like, okay, we're also, when you do show up 6 months later, we're getting the great products that we were expecting by going with Prattville Carpet in the first place.
And I can tell you another little secret. Go to your local flooring guy, wherever you may live, and ask him what builder he recommends, because we're the last one in the job, and we see it all.
Oh, I can only imagine. Now I want to ask, like, what's the worst case scenario you've seen?
Oh, man, I've seen a wall out 6 inches, and you put the wood floor down, and all of a sudden it just disappears into the wall. I didn't frame this house. We stick the floors. You can't fix the framer with the flooring. So, yeah.
Wow.
Trust me, give me a call if you're thinking about building, and I can tell you which builders we would recommend.
And that number's...
Because we work with really high-end, great builders.
And that number's still 285-8117 to reach you?
It is. So call us today, 285-8117. We will be open tomorrow until 5:30, then we'll close the rest of the week.
Beautiful. Well, I appreciate it as always. We'll talk again tomorrow.
Thanks. Bye.
Again, that's Ray Bowles for Prattville Carpet. When you call him at 285-8117, be sure to tell him you heard Ray on the radio with that Joey fella. Oh, there they are on Fox Business talking about how Trump has promised to make the United States the crypto capital of the world with a strategic Bitcoin reserve and lighter regulatory touch. Yep, that's at least the word. I'm just humbly suggesting to the legislators out there, I don't want to be part of your club. It's fine. Like I said, I hate the game, not the players. And I just, every once in a while, I would like to see this game that goes on here. I don't go to hell. Let's get ahead of the curve. Let's do something that'll help the people of the states long-term wealth. I think it would be a winner as I look at Bitcoin more and more. It's also great to see Trump continue to just trump on, especially how he's gotten a lot of these world leaders' attention. If this guy gets sworn in next year on January the 20th, and within just a few days, if not weeks, you're seeing the end of wars, new deals, a new status quo established with foreign leaders, and you're actually seeing the Congress. I think this is the biggest question. Where's going to get the most resistance? The Congress. We'll see how quickly Congress is willing to act in order to put forward Trump's agenda. Apparently, there's been a lot of stuff in the hopper. But again, this is all speculative until we actually get going. And then don't get me started. I don't have enough time left here on today's show. I'm over the moon about Doge. And you got all these folks pouring cold water all over my Doge dreams. You're not gonna take this away from me. Doge is amazing. I want more Doge, and I hope the people they're recommending changes to move very swiftly. The people with proper authority. It's going to be a heck of a fight. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch as Trump and the team he has assembled hit the ground running, whether it is Doge with Elon and Vivek, or it's RFK Jr. at HHS, or Pete Hegseth at the Defense Department, which there might be more cuts at DOD than people suspect. If somebody's going to cut the Defense Department, it's going to be this incoming president, Donald John Trump. And again, who knows what the more established interests in this country, what tricks they have up their sleeve, because they're not going to take this lying down and go quietly. So a lot to look out for. And honestly, a lot to be grateful for as we head into this holiday season, kicking it off with Thanksgiving here in a few days. Like I said yesterday, I'm thankful for those of you who listen. The few who do. I'm thankful for it. And I'll be back tomorrow. Eddie won't. I'll be back. I don't know who's going to be joining me, but we're going to do this thing right. Close out the Thanksgiving week. But for now, y'all stay tuned. Happy Hour with Greg Vidal. Well, he's next.
Broadcasting from the Riverside Chevrolet Master Control Center, this is WACV Cusana, News Talk 93.1 FM. When it's Chevy, it's Riverside.
With SRN News, I'm John Scott. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu will present a U.S. brokered ceasefire to his cabinet ministers later today, setting the stage for an end to nearly 14 months of fighting with the terrorist Hezbollah organization. American Airlines doesn't expect significant disruptions to flights this week as a result of labor strike at its hub in Charlotte, North Carolina. Service workers there walked out Monday during a busy week of Thanksgiving travel to protest what they say are unlivable wages. Mexico President Claudia Sheinbaum suggesting Mexico could retaliate with tariffs of its own after U.S. President-elect Trump threatened to impose 25% tariffs on Mexican goods. That's if the country does not stop the flow of drugs and migrants across the border. This is SRN News.
Yo, 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 Dad is in the house. What do you call the NordVPN Black Friday deal, huh?